Happy Friday morning, everybody. Hope everyone's had a great week. We are ready to close out this week strong. Why is my stream looking blurry over there on LinkedIn? But let's. Good morning, Rumble Studio. We are in here. Shout out to Rumble Studio for picking up where YouTube slacked off. Shout out to YouTube. We are live on YouTube. I am told that we are live on X, but let me verify. Trust but verify. Are we live on X? And yes, we are. We are live on X. Good morning to X. We are live on Facebook. That's Facebook.com/Work on Your Game University, by the way. We are live on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn name, my YouTube name, my Rumble Studio name, and my X name are all the same. That is Dre All Day. Easy to spell. We are live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. We are live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. Please tell me your locations. Tell me your locations as y'all coming in. Locations in the comments. Locations in the comments as we get started here. Tell me where you're checking in from. I'll shout a few people out, and then we will get into the material here today. Again, live on 7 different platforms: Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Give me your locations as y'all are coming in. Today's topic. What else is the topic going to be? Donald Trump. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and how he has, or his administration has, technically, fired some people, and these people won't leave. They refuse to leave. So Donald Trump got to call security to escort these people out of the building because they will not leave the building after they get fired by Donald Trump. So we're going to talk about that here today. 12 Thunderchild said dump Trump. Dump him from what? I mean, he already got elected twice. There's no other way to dump him. It's pretty much over now. Kingworks 21, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Good morning. Good to see you hitting here. As y'all coming in again, shout yourselves out in the comment section so we can get into the proceedings this morning, what we need to get into. Tell me your locations in the comment section. Please keep getting the likes up, everybody. We're at 1,700 likes already, 1,800 likes already. Keep getting the likes up. 1,900 likes. Keep going. Nikki, good morning. Congrats. First comment. Carla, Indiana, good morning to you. Kimmy's Furniture Flips, good morning. Good to see you. Annie AFF, good morning. Marie M, good morning. Shout out your locations as y'all are coming in. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit, is in the building. First location. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Mary from San Antonio. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Annie AFF, Kentucky. Lahec, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Kimmy's Furniture Flips, Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Myrtle Beach. Renee Dew, good morning. Checking in from Greenville, North Carolina. Shout out to Greenville. Kuya Bin Yasharal, Manson, North Carolina. Good morning. QBSTN, Findlay, Ohio. Shout out to Ohio. We got a lot of Ohio representation here. Carolyn Rudder, Oakwood, Georgia. Good morning to Oakwood, Georgia. I'm checking in from South Florida. Hometown is Philadelphia, PA, but now based in South Florida. Been here for a while. Man of Fire 196 checking in from Staten Island, Shaolin. Staten Island, New York. Shout out to Staten Island. Shout out to New York. The topic here today, again, is Donald Trump's firings refusing to leave. Gary Sherman said, go Birds. Yes, Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, so they're in good shape, hopefully. Kristen RG from Nebraska. Good morning to Nebraska. Ruby checking in from Minnesota. Shout out to Minnesota. Jules said, good morning, like your content. California. Shout out to California as well. So, Donald Trump's firings. As I said, some people refusing to leave. So let's talk about specifically what we're talking about here. So, of course, Donald Trump's in the headlines. He's always in the headlines. And what he did was he is trying his admin. When I say he, what I mean is the Trump administration. They have let the Fed governor, this is the governor of the Federal Reserve. Her name is Lisa Cook. She received a demand to resign over alleged mortgage improprieties. So what happened is this woman she's in charge of things such as mortgage rates. This woman, Lisa Cook, she had two different properties that she was purchasing, and she was getting a mortgage on both of them. And in her two applications, she noted both residences as her primary residence, which is you can't do that. Let's just say that you're not allowed to do that. And she is claiming it was a mistake, the same way that Letitia James from New York claimed it was a mistake when she misrepresented what her properties were, or the size of the properties, or how many bedrooms were in the properties, or if she was even married or not. All these misrepresentations Ms. Letitia James had. We talked about that last week. So this woman, Lisa Cook, has made a similar mistake in her mortgage paperwork for two properties she owns. She noted both of them as her primary residence. Well, if you know anything about primary residences, is that you can't primarily live in two different places at the same time. So it looks like she is just trying to get over on the mortgage companies because theoretically, looking at it, you get a better rate if it's your primary residence as opposed to it being a secondary residence or tertiary residence or like a vacation property or something you're going to rent out, something like that, an investment property. She noted both of them as her primaries. It got found out, and now the Trump administration is attempting to fire her because of this, and maybe for other reasons, but this is like the smoking gun is making her look bad. She, of course, is claiming that it was a mistake, and they always claim that it's a mistake. This is a paperwork crime, as we say. Is it actually hurting anybody? Probably not. Is this really a big deal in the big picture? Probably not. However, we got to be fair here. It's the same thing you could have said about the Trump 34 felonies, quote unquote, the 34 felonies case with Donald Trump. That was paperwork. Did it hurt anybody? No. Was it really a big deal in the big picture? No. But Donald Trump's political enemies used it against him to try to make him look bad, to try to cost him money, and to try to block him from running for election in 2024. Did that happen? Yes, it did. So for this to happen from the other side of the aisle now is all fair game. This is fair game. If this is what you're going to do to them, and then now they are doing it to you, then you got to accept that. You can't get in a boxing ring, punch the other guy in the face, and then get mad when he punches you in the face. I mean, this is just the game that you got in. So they are demanding that she resign. She has refused to resign. This woman, Lisa Cook, has refused to resign. Let me see if I can find a post on X that has talked about this. So Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve, refusing to resign. And first of all, I think it's worth putting into context who Lisa Cook actually is. Here's Lisa Cook, just for context. Here's Lisa Cook. Looks similar to Tish James, interestingly enough. So Roger Stone says, this. He says, yeah, I'm certain that it's just a coincidence that the clerk of the D.C. court just happened to send fired Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook's lawsuit to the federal district judge who was Cook's sorority sister. Right. So I don't know if this is going to go too well. So this woman, Angela D. Caesar, she's the clerk of court for the U.S. District Court for D.C. This is the clerk of courts that Lisa Cook, because she's basically suing the Trump administration over this situation, over getting fired. She's refusing to leave when she allegedly got fired. Now, the judge, who the clerk, so that clerk is this woman right here. Okay, so we know who Lisa Cook is. Here's the clerk that decided where to send the case. She decided to send the case to a judge. This judge's name is Gia Cobb, and here's the judge. Y'all paying attention? I don't even have to offer any explanation of what y'all seeing in these photos. So this woman is sorority sisters with this woman who's going to court. So the judge is sorority sisters or in the same sorority as Lisa Cook. And she's the one who is allegedly going to weigh this move with these policies. Now, Gia Cobb, that's this woman right here. Gia Cobb is a Biden appointee who recently ruled against Trump on the deportations issue. So how do y'all think this one's going to go? All right, we don't even have to watch the we only have to watch the show to know how this one's going to turn out. So this is the situation. Now, this is going to be a big legal battle, and there's going to be a bunch of back and forth and paperwork before anything else actually happens here. But this is, let's see what it's saying here. So someone else on the other side of this on X, this is an account called Call to Activism, one of the most viewed progressive platforms on earth. This is what they call themselves. Founded by an attorney by the name of Joe Galena, to fight Trump-era corruption. So their whole brand is based on fighting against Donald Trump corruption. This is what they're called. Call to Activism. They have 1 million followers on X. So these guys are very popular. So here's what they said. Holy shit. Lisa Cook just flipped Trump's own tactics on him. After Trump tried to fire her with a baseless smear campaign, she's suing using his favorite weapon against him. And that's an interesting framing there because Donald Trump has gotten sued. I haven't seen him suing a whole bunch of people. Not nearly as much as he's gotten sued. But this is what they say. And wait for this. They say Cook is playing 4D chess. So they're supporters of Lisa Cook. So they're framing this as if Lisa Cook is just some genius who's just playing Donald Trump, allegedly. Of course, this is the framing. This is what they said. She's first asking the court to block her removal and reinstate her while the case continues. I can see that probably happening, especially if this woman, Gia Cobb, if this woman stays as the judge in the case, I think Lisa Cook is going to get reinstated. If I had to bet money, if I had to bet dollars to donuts, no pun intended, maybe it's intended, then I would bet that Gia Cobb is probably going to block this firing and she's going to keep her job. And if the court denies the firing, it could open the door to a massive legal battle, including potential claims for back pay. I mean, it just happened this week, so there's no back pay she's missing. Lost wages. Again, she hasn't lost any wages yet. And reputational damages. I seriously doubt that one. Even if she loses her job, let's say even if she loses in court, she could walk away with millions while embarrassing Trump in court. This is how you fight back. All right, this is nonsense framing by Call to Activism, but I read their posts because they are very popular. And if you want to know why people get so excited going against Donald Trump, it's because accounts like this, Call to Activism, they get people all excited based on a whole bunch of conjecture here, this is nothing. They said back pay and lost wages. She hasn't lost any pay or wages yet. She just got fired like this week. So she hasn't missed any back pay or lost wages. And who knows when the exact specific date that she's supposed to be fired. We don't even know what that is yet. And they said she could walk away with millions. They put it in all capital letters while embarrassing Trump in court. Well, first of all, I don't think you can embarrass Donald Trump in court at this point. As many times he's been to court and as many judgments he's already had against him, how can you embarrass Donald Trump in court? I don't think that's possible. So she could walk away with millions. I seriously doubt it. And this is going to be a matter of, does the administration have cause to fire her? That's what this comes down to. So that is all nonsense conjecture by that Call to Activism account. So anyway, she has refused. She sued Donald Trump. That's where we are right now. And she has cited that there's a threat to the independence of the Federal Reserve for the president to fire her. Now, that's going to get played out in court, and we'll see how that goes. That's going to be a whole lot of red tape and paperwork. Any of you who's interested in that type of thing. At the same time, the director of the CDC, Susan Manares, we mentioned her yesterday when we were talking about Dr. Dimitri and his ridiculous resignation letter. She was fired after she resisted jab policy directives that came from Mr. RFK Jr., and we know everybody at the CDC hates RFK Jr. She refused the directives that came from him, and since she wouldn't do what he said to do, they fired her. And that led a bunch of people in the CDC to resign in protest. So they're protesting to support their boss, and they all left, including Dr. Dimitri, who we talked about yesterday. So both Lisa Cook and Mrs. Monares, her name is Susan and Lisa, they are publicly resisting Donald Trump. What else is new? And they're making this big virtue signal sign of resisting Donald Trump. And where was I? And they're asserting legal or professional principle. Okay. While critics accuse Trump of weaponizing these agencies like the Fed and the CDC to consolidate power, Gavin Newsom's doing this too. Gavin Newsom, y'all heard him. He's talking that Donald Trump, the reason that he activated the National Guard in D.C. is because he wants to create a police state in D.C. And then when it's time for him to leave office in 2028, Trump's not going to leave office in 2028. Now, mind you all, it's August of 2025. This is what Gavin Newsom is claiming. Does this make logical sense? Not really. Actually doesn't make logical sense at all. Is this even feasible? Is it possible? Technically, yes, it's possible. All he's doing is taking one little point that the National Guard got deployed in D.C., which has actually worked, by the way. Nobody's mentioning that. Notice that Gavin Newsom didn't even point that out. He deployed the National Guard in D.C., which has worked to curb crime in D.C., and now he's drawing a line from that to 3 years from now, 2028, technically it'd be 2029 when he's supposed to leave the White House, January of 2029, that he's not going to leave the White House and that he's going to use the National Guard to block anybody from taking him out of the White House. Really, Gavin Newsom? Like, that's the best you can come up with, Gavin Newsom? While we're on the subject, actually, a couple things about this. That right there is what we call a non sequitur. That's when someone takes one little point and they try to draw a conclusion from here to there, and they're making this big logical jump that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And they're trying to connect it emotionally rather than make it make any sense logically. That's called a non sequitur. That translates to it does not follow. So when someone tries to make one point, make another point, that's a logical fallacy called a non sequitur. Gavin Newsom did this expertly. Speaking of Gavin Newsom and other politicians out there, the AOCs, the Jasmine Crockett's, and several others, do y'all notice that all of them are now playing Trump's game? You see, when Trump first came into politics, the whole thing was this guy's not presidential. He's not talking professionally. He's talking like he's at a bar somewhere, and he is not following the normal rules of decorum of politics. He's not talking like a politician. He's not presidential. Remember that whole thing? People were saying that about Trump a whole lot in 2015 into 2016, even as he became president in 2017. Now look at us in 2025. Now you have all these politicians cursing. You have all of them using all types of lewd language. You have all of them using slang. You have all of them going on the internet and talking crazy, let's just say, for lack of a better term, about their political opponents. And they have all gone and met Trump on what they framed as the low road. They said Donald Trump's on the low road. You remember all this? When Donald Trump was running in 2016, Michelle Obama was most famously saying this, not necessarily about Trump, but just period. When they go low, we go high. I remember Michelle Obama saying that. Hillary Clinton tried to use a similar frame. He goes low, we go high. He's all the way down here on the low road. I am too highbrow and too high class and too professional and too upstanding of a person to meet him down here. Here we are 8 years later, 9 years later, and they're all doing it. All the Democrats are doing this now. They are literally playing Donald Trump's game, trying to beat him at his own game. The problem is they're playing a game. This is the problem that the Democrat Party has. They got several problems. This is another one. Another problem the Democrat Party has is that they're all trying to play Donald Trump's game. The problem is Donald Trump's not playing the game. That's his normal. That's just who he is. This is his normal way. You can't manufacture beating somebody as something that comes naturally to them. You can't do it. It comes naturally to Donald Trump to talk the way that he does because he's not a normal politician. He's not a lifetime politician like all these people whose names I just mentioned. He hasn't come up in that game, and he doesn't need a career in politics necessarily to matter. I mean, he's an older guy now, but let's say had he lost in 2016, he would still matter because he was him outside of politics. Regardless of what you think about what he did outside of politics, we all can agree that he was known and he was an entity and he had a form that had nothing to do with politics. None of these other people who I mentioned, Newsom, Michelle Obama, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and everybody else, none of these people exist or matter or are even noted outside of politics. So they have to play a certain game, and this is how they were trained. Donald Trump was not trained that way. He came in doing things his way. It worked. They all said, well, this guy's a bad guy, despite the fact that he won. He's a bad guy. His style was wrong. Nobody should conduct themselves like this. We are above this guy. He's on the low road. We're on the high road. Now all the Democrats are on the low road. Does everybody notice this? All the Democrats are on the low road. Kamala Harris as well. Kamala, AOC, Newsom, they seem like the top three right now for 2028. Any Democratic supporters over here, any hardcore leftists listening to this, now y'all have a problem. Is that the Democratic Party has no form because their only thing to do now is to respond or react, rather, is really reacting to everything Donald Trump says or does. And now they're starting to sound and look more like him than ever. I thought the whole point was to resist him. Now they're looking just like him. Now they're talking just like him. Now they're walking just like him. Now they're using social media just like him. They're doing everything Donald Trump was doing. I thought the whole point was to resist him. Now they have joined him. Democratic voters, how y'all feel about this? I'm talking hardcore Democrats. I'm not saying you could never vote Democrat ever. I'm talking you hardcore Democrats who will always vote blue no matter what. How do y'all feel about this? To me, it looks like a problem. It looks like a problem to me that they haven't figured out exactly who they are. And they're saying that Donald Trump's trying to consolidate power. Okay, we heard this already. We heard this in 2015. We heard it in 2016. We heard he was going to overthrow democracy. Then you had January 6, 2021 happen. They said, here's proof that Donald Trump's trying to overthrow democracy and destroy the Constitution and overthrow the government and the insurrection and take over. Well, clearly it wasn't. We can argue about the insurrection thing. Not going to do that here today. January 6th happened. We know that it happened. Donald Trump did leave the White House. That is confirmed. Joe Biden was in the White House. That's confirmed. Joe Biden fell asleep. Also confirmed. Kamala Harris was there. We don't know what the hell she was doing. 2024 happened. Donald Trump's back in the White House. So this whole thing of he's going to never leave the White House and he set it up so that he never has to leave. Gavin Newsom has resorted to that because he ran out of social media material after about a week of having a nice little run. Gavin Newsom had a nice little run for about a week. He was really hot on social media and saying all his stuff and clapping back at people. And he had his one-liners that his social media team was putting together from the paid for by the DNC. And now here we are about 10 days into that, Gavin Newsom then run out of material. That fast. Gavin Newsom then run out of material and he's defaulted to the, Donald Trump's never going to leave the White House 3 years from now. Gavin, do you understand who you're talking to? Talking to a bunch of short-sighted voters who can't see past their noses. They're not thinking about 2028. They're thinking about right now. They're thinking about next month. All right, today's the 29th. They're thinking about, wait, how do I make sure all the bills get paid by the 5th of September? And you're talking about January of 2029? Really? Gavin, you ran out of material that quick. Who's your social media team? Who's running Gavin Newsom's social media? He ran out of material this quick. And they're saying that Donald Trump's trying to consolidate power. Again, we've heard this over and over and over again. The political left has a problem. I'm not talking about the voters. I'm talking about the actual politicians. They have a problem in that they have no material. And everything they say is about Donald Trump. This is a bigger problem. At some point, the Democratic Party, the DNC, needs to figure out, all right, who are we? What are we about and what do we represent? They don't know yet. That's the problem. Let me introduce myself before we get into these points. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete. I've written a couple books, done a couple TED Talks, run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job over here is to help you command the room through your presence, through your aura, without even saying a word. And that is done by the conscious, logical, tactical things that you know about, such as discipline, process, systems, execution, performance, production of results. You learn more about that by going to the link in my profile, and you can get involved in our world from anywhere from getting a couple of our books that we give away for free. I'll tell you about that later in this live, to getting into our coaching programs, which we have different levels of, to working with me directly, having me come train your team or do some consulting for your business. We got a lot of different levels in which you can get in, but it's all under the umbrella of Work on Your Game Incorporated. You can check that out and learn more about that at whatever link you see in my profile. By the way, I am live on 7 different platforms right now: TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Rumble, YouTube. Is that 7? X, Rumble, and YouTube. And I do have replays of this. All my recordings are always on my YouTube channel. Links in my profile on TikTok. My Instagram profile is also linked in my TikTok. Make sure you're following me on at least 2 different platforms besides just this one. At least one other platform besides this one. I'm most active on X throughout the day outside of this. This is the only social media engaging I do is this, and I'm on X. That's it. I do not respond to comments. I do not read most of my DMs. My assistant will look at not all of them, but a healthy amount of them. And that's it. So if you want to engage with me, you either find me on X or you come here. That's it. When I'm done with the content, then we're going to get into the comments. I will read comments out loud. I'll respond to the comments, and we will have our favorite part of the day, which is when I can point out any logical fallacies that we come across. If you use the most common logical fallacy known as a straw man, get ready because you will hear. Let me play that again. The volume wasn't up. If you use a straw man, you get this. Strawberry cheesecake. If you use an appeal to ridicule, and I'll explain what all these mean when I start actually using it. Use an appeal to ridicule, you'll get this. Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man. If you use an ad hominem, then you'll get this. Is that like a personal attack or something? If you are not liking alive enough, then I'll use this one. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. If you use a non sequitur or you make a point that doesn't quite make sense, then you'll get this. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay. If you use an appeal to emotion, you try to make an emotional point that has no logical standing, you'll get this. Emotional, damn it. And if you use a combination of logical fallacies altogether, then you'll get this. Combination. And if you make an actual good point that I agree with, to which I need to add nothing, I'll give you this. I'm really glad we got the soundboard. This makes it a whole lot more fun. It was still fun before the soundboard, but it's more fun with the soundboard. So let's get into the material, and then we'll get to the comments. So Donald Trump has positioned his actions as defending institutional integrity. Now, again, this woman is implicated in fraud. That's what she's implicated in. Monetary fraud, because she's applying for a mortgage and she's in charge of the Federal Reserve. So there is a strong conflict of interest here. It's not like she got a parking ticket and she's working at the Federal Reserve. It's not like there's no connection between what she's doing in her personal life and what she does as her job. This is a big deal. It's like somebody works at a daycare and you work at a daycare during the day, or you run a daycare business, and then in your personal life you get arrested for child abuse. All right, there's a big connection between those two things, and it matters, and people are not just going to ignore it. The problem that people have is, of course, Donald Trump is the one pointing it out. So people will use their emotional feelings about Donald Trump to mask the logic of there is a real thing here. Even if it was Joe Biden doing it, this would still matter. It wouldn't be a news story, but it would still matter. Mrs. Moneras from the CDC, she is resisting policies that she sees as, or that she or Trump, RFK really, sees as dangerous. And it frames these dismissals as protective measures. In other words, the Trump administration. So when I say Trump in this context, I'm talking about the whole administration. They are using these as protective measures. There's not political for them. And that's what they say. Now, of course, what does the other side say? They say that everything Donald Trump's doing is a witch hunt. He's trying to come after anyone on the opposite side of him. Anyone who says anything negative about him, he's going to try to go after them legally, or go after their jobs, or try to make them look bad because he can't deal with anybody pushing back against him. Now, there may be some credence to that point. Is Donald Trump a vengeful guy who is all about getting retaliation against the people who come at him? Well, he absolutely is. Donald Trump is that guy. And Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, does not hide the fact that he is that guy. I'll give you an example, because I showed you all this several months ago. We were talking about this, and it was in his book called Think Big and Kick Ass. Any of you read that book? It's called Think Big and Kick Ass. It's a book written by Donald Trump, or ghostwritten or whatever. But a lot of this book is his words, because I read the book, and it's a very interesting book because it basically is Donald Trump telling you who he really is. He has a chapter in the book. I'm pulling it up right now on my iBooks account. It's called Revenge. All right, the chapter is titled Revenge. This guy wrote a whole chapter in his own book about why he loves getting revenge on people. You see it right there. Everybody sees this? This is Donald Trump's book. I showed y'all this about a month ago. Let me read a little bit of this, because it's actually very funny. So here it is. This is from his book. I always get even. In the 1980s, I recruited a woman from her job in government where she was making peanuts. She had nothing when she met me. I thought she was smart and that under my mentoring, she could be very good. She was a nobody in her government job and going nowhere. I decided to make her into a somebody. Let's just pause right there. This is how Donald Trump talks. Again, this is in his book, folks. This is not some behind the scenes secret recorded thing. He literally wrote this down and printed it and published it. So I gave her a job at the Trump organization, and over time, she became powerful in real estate. She bought a beautiful home. When I was going through tough times in the early 90s, I needed her help. I asked her to make a phone call to an extremely close friend of hers who held a powerful position at a big bank and would have done what she asked. She said, Donald, I can't do that. I had taken her out of a dead-end government job. I encouraged her. I mentored her. I made her, and then she told me she couldn't do it. I got rid of her, and then she started a business on her own. Now, here's the funny part. Later, I found out her business failed. I was really happy when I found that out. This is Donald Trump's book. She had turned on me after I had done so much to help her. I had asked for one favor in return, and she turned me down flat. She ended up losing her home. Her husband, who was only in it for the money, walked out on her, and I was glad. Over the years, many people have called asking for a recommendation for her. I only give her bad recommendations. I just can't stomach the disloyalty. All right, this is who Donald Trump is. All right, he makes no bones about it. So I'm sharing all that to say this. Could it be that Donald Trump will try to fire somebody because he has a personal issue with that person? Could he do that? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. What has he probably done it already? Yes. All right, all of these things are probably true. At the same time, were all of you alive in 2024? Yes. Okay. What happened in 2024 when Biden was in charge? What did they do with regards to Donald Trump? What did that administration do? What did that Department of Justice do? They didn't just try to fire Donald Trump from a job. He didn't have a job to be fired from. They tried to incarcerate this man for a long time. They tried to bankrupt this man. They tried to get him on federal RICO charges. They went into his house and took documents from his house. They raided his home. They did all that to Donald Trump in 2024. And the Biden administration pretended like they had nothing to do with it. So, again, as I said at the beginning of this is fair game. If they could do all that to Trump, what he's doing right now is nothing compared to what they tried to do to him. And everything they did was about him, not to mention all the other people who got taken to court, who got subpoenaed, who got charged, and who got incarcerated, who were loyalists and who were around Donald Trump during either his first term or just been around him total in his next term. Let me see if I can find that list. Somebody posted a list of this about 2 days ago on X. Let me see if I can find the list, because there was a whole list of people who had posted all these people who had gone to court and been charged, et cetera, for standing with or standing near Donald Trump. Let me see if I can find the list. I don't know if I can find the list. But just off the top of my head, of course, we all know Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon was Donald Trump's, basically his attack dog during Donald Trump's first term. Steve Bannon went to jail. All right, he went to jail not because of what he did was necessarily so bad. Why did he go to jail? He went to jail because he was standing next to Donald Trump. All right, everybody knows this is true. He went to jail because he was standing next to Donald Trump. And there are so many people who went to jail, got charged. Let me see if I can find this. I should have saved it. All these people who either went to jail, got called to testify, went to court, etc., because they stood next to Donald Trump. And if the Democrats take over in 2028, it'll probably happen again. They'll find a way to try to come at these people. Now, whether anything actually sticks is a different story. But does Donald Trump have a right to do this, fire some people? And he has cause. At least he has cause. Let's look at the case they had against Donald Trump in 2024. So you got the Tish James case, which is this is the 34 felonies, right? The paperwork thing. And then you had the Stormy Daniels thing. So between those two, the 34 felonies, I think, was the Stormy Daniels. And then the Tish James was the not filing paperwork properly and overvaluing your properties, and how she's talking about she's going to take whatever the building that is that Trump has, and all of this. This is a misfiling paperwork. It's generally a misdemeanor. The statute of limitations had already expired, and nobody gets prosecuted for something like this. They went and found a way to do it against Donald Trump. That's what we call lawfare. Then you had the Stormy Daniels things with the paperwork filing, and that was the 34 felony. It was basically a couple different filings, and then they found like 5 different things that they did wrong on each one. That's how you multiply one felony into 5, and then they got the 34 felonies, got him convicted of that, didn't even go to jail for it, even though he technically has 34 felonies. Then you got the RICO case in Georgia with Fannie Willis, and they're trying to say this guy's doing a federal conspiracy because he said, find me the whatever number of votes he said. And again, depending on the way that you read that can be interpreted in a couple of different ways, and that case fell apart. And then you have Jack Smith, special counsel Jack Smith, down in Mar-a-Lago. raiding his house and saying that he took documents that he wasn't supposed to take. That's the same thing they're trying to get Bolton for right now. And similar thing to what they're trying to get Bolton for right now. Maybe they'll get him, maybe they won't. Maybe it'll become something. Maybe it'll be a nothing burger. The whole thing is they just found crimes. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's what they did to Donald Trump. He's not trying to put anybody in jail. I mean, if anybody he could have put in jail would have been Hillary Clinton, if we're being honest here. If he was going to put anybody in jail, could have been Hillary Clinton in 2016. When he won, he could have easily done that. Now, had Hillary won, what would she have done to Trump? You tell me. And if you don't know, we don't know because she didn't win. Look what they did to Trump in 2024. Why'd they wait? The RICO thing happened in what? 2020? The RICO thing was find me the votes. So let's just say that's late 2020 into 2021, right? That was find me the votes. Question. Why didn't they take him to court in 2021? Joe Biden became president in January of 2021. Why didn't they take him to court? Because they didn't care. It didn't matter. It wasn't until 2024 when he said he was going to run again and it was clear he was going to be the nominee. They said, oh, we got to stop him. Okay, but now let's gin up this case. Same thing with the Stormy Daniels thing. Stormy Daniels happened in what, 2016, 2017? They didn't take it to court until 2024? Make that make sense. Same thing with the paperwork, the valuing of your properties thing. Again, why'd they wait till 2024? And then the documents. Again, all the same thing. This is all lawfare used against him. Donald Trump's not using lawfare. He just fired some people. And he has a logical, legitimate reason to fire these people. So Lisa Cook, what she says that Federal Reserve governors, they serve fixed terms and they can only be removed, quote unquote, for cause. So she's saying that the cause of her misfiling of paperwork by accident, allegedly, is not cause. And the Trump administration is saying that it is cause. That's what this comes down to. That's what this case is going to come down to. And no governor in 112 years of the Federal Reserve has ever been dismissed. Monera's, on the other hand, they insist that only the president can fire her. So RFK Jr. technically is the one who sent the firing. He can't do it, that only Trump can do it. So Trump has not actually said whether he's going to fire her or not yet. So this is a pending situation. And there's some murky authority and it raises constitutional concerns. So this defiance lays the groundwork for court battles. And again, this is just going to become court. This is going to become a whole thing that plays out in court. Thanks, PK, for that cowboy hat and mustache. And thanks to everybody for sending the gifts. I don't see them all the time when I'm talking, but I appreciate the gifts. So this becomes more resistance. Let's just resist Trump in any way, shape, or form. I haven't seen in my lifetime a president who there's a whole faction, the entire other side politically, even some people on his own side, whose whole agenda, their very existence every day, is they wake up, they have a bowl of Cheerios, and they say, how can we resist Donald Trump today? And I understand that it galvanizes and energizes people. I understand that it galvanizes and energizes a base. The problem is that 2026 is coming up. And 2028 is looming, and the Democratic Party's whole thing, their entire existence is about our reaction to anything Donald Trump says or does. The problem is Donald Trump's going to be gone. And voters, I think, are starting to come to understand this. Okay, Donald Trump's about to leave, or he already won the second time. He's not running for any type of reelection again. He's not running any more campaigns. Why do Democrats keep talking about him? Everything they say is all about him. This still has to be figured out. I don't have an answer to this, but if there's someone who does, y'all should go call the DNC and get yourself a nice consulting gig. So supporters say this is a bold reset. Trump is showing he will not allow ideological dissent to persist in agencies to handle health and handle money. And he has a right to that. Why? Because he got elected president. Even if you don't agree with it, he has a right to that. If he says, I don't want the ideologies of my administration to have conflict, I want people to see things my way who are working in this administration, doesn't mean they're going to do everything he says, but ideologically, I want everybody to be aligned, and I'm going to fire the people who are not aligned. And if he has to find a reason, he'll find a reason. He has a right to do that simply because he was elected president. He was chosen by us, the voters, to be president. So he has a right to that. And this aligns with his whole concept going back to 2016, if you remember, draining the swamp. And draining the swamp can be interpreted in many different ways. And it appeals to voters who are frustrated with elite institutions, frustrated with the health situation in America, whether we're talking big pharma, we're talking the CDC, we're talking HHS before RFK came in, whatever. The Federal Reserve when it comes to money and people paying their bills and do I have enough money to survive and student loans and all of that. Many Americans are just fed up with elite institutions and fed up with the government and fed up with people making decisions who are not, they don't have skin in the game. They're not feeling the brunt of the decisions that are being made. That's the reason why they voted for Trump. That's why Trump became president. He became president because he looked around at what the elites, quote unquote, I don't refer to them as elite, but elites, quote unquote, were doing, like these institutionalized politicians like Hillary Clinton, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris, like all these other folks. And he said, people are getting tired of this. Let me voice exactly what they're feeling, and I'm going to get these people on my side. Well, it worked. Here we are. So he has a right to do this. Now, critics say this is dangerous politicization, using federal institutions to enforce ideological compliance, undermines expertise, neutrality, and erodes trust in data-driven governance. I say that one that's where you get tricky with the verbal sleight of hand. This is a verbal sleight of hand right here. Let me say it again, what is being said. That Donald Trump is using federal institutions, that's like the CDC and the Fed, to enforce ideological compliance that undermines expertise, neutrality, and it erodes trust in data-driven governance. All right, I reject this. Here's why I reject it. Because first of all, expertise can come from either side of the aisle. You can be an expert and a Republican, and an expert, you can be a Democrat. So expertise does not necessarily have to be on the other side of where you are. You can be ideologically aligned with another person and be an expert. You can be ideologically opposed to another person and still be an expert. So that's a nonsense point. Neutrality. Again, who defines neutrality? These days, who defines neutrality? I don't know. Is there some arbiter that gets to say, okay, that's neutral, that's not neutral? As soon as they make that decision, they're already not neutral themselves, because the people who got ruled against are not going to see that person as neutral. There are people listening to this right now who think I'm on some side politically. I have no side politically, but if I say something that you don't like, then you're going to assume I'm on the other side of the side that you do like. And if I say something that you do like, you're going to assume that I'm on the side that you like. So there is no neutrality these days. Neutrality doesn't mean what it used to mean, because everybody has picked a side, or at least even if you haven't picked a side, as soon as you offer an opinion that somebody doesn't like, they're going to pin you as being on the side of whatever they think your opinion was leaning towards. Is this true or not? Of course it is. And they say it erodes trust in data-driven governance. Here's the problem with data-driven governance is that data can be manipulated very easily depending on how much you play with the data. You can parse data any way that you want. You can parse the data of homicide stats in America and make it look like white people are doing the majority of the homicides. And then you can parse the data in a way that it looks like black people are doing the majority of the homicides. How can you get two different answers from the same data? Depends on the way you present the data. So something being data driven does not mean that it's neutral, doesn't mean that it's true, doesn't mean that it's factual, and it damn sure doesn't mean they're telling people the whole story. So this language is the verbal sleight of hand. Because you can very easily manipulate people with this if they don't understand how you're playing. That's why I tell you all, even if there are people out there who you strongly disagree with, don't consider them to be dumb. They're actually very smart because they know how to manipulate language in a way to get you thinking one way without telling you the whole story. They tell you the part of the story that they want you to know. They leave out the part of the story that they don't want you to know. And they assume that you don't realize what they just did. Therefore, you are influenced and convinced by what they presented when they only gave you 30% of the information. You don't even realize that there's 70% they left out. There's a whole book on this concept. There are several books on this concept, but you can read Robert Cialdini's books on influence, persuasion. He's written about it a lot. You also read a short book called How to Lie with Statistics. And that book is all about how you can manipulate data to tell any story that you want, banking on the ignorance of your audience. That's pretty much what, when anybody says data-driven governance or I use facts to prove things, that's nonsense. All it is picking and choosing which facts you're going to use. So scientists and economists warn that power plays by Donald Trump will compromise institutional credibility long term. I say the Fed doesn't have any institutional credibility. I say the CDC does not have any institutional credibility. The Fed has continually over years eroded their institutional credibility by pumping more dollars into our economy, lowering the value of the dollar, leading to more inflation, leading to more and more Americans not being able to pay their bills or know how they're going to survive financially in the future. On top of the fact that artificial intelligence is coming around, is going to eliminate jobs, and a lot of people have no idea what they're going to be doing or how they're going to be surviving 5 to 10 years from now. So the Fed already doesn't have any credibility. When it comes to the Center for Disease Control, we talked about this a lot yesterday. All of you were alive 5 years ago. Yes? Okay. All of you who are adults 5 years ago, we know what happened 5 years ago. We know the head of CDC said, take this jab, you won't get the virus. Did the head of CDC say that? Everybody knows that she said it. It was a woman. She said it. That was a lie. It was either a lie or she doesn't know what she's talking about. Either way, we don't trust her. So if you're the head of CDC, don't know what you're talking about, I don't trust you. If you're the head of CDC and you're lying to me, I don't trust you. So what are they talking about? Institutional credibility. They have no credibility. What credibility does the CDC have in 2025? As far as I'm concerned, they have zero credibility. None. They said, take the jab, you will not get the virus. Everybody heard that. They said it on TV. First of all, let's be clear. This is a bipartisan, nonpartisan point is a better way of saying it. The Republican side said it. The Democrats said it. Trump said it. Biden said it. Kamala said it. Who's the VP, the other guy? Mike Pence, he said it. Everybody on TV said it. CNN said it. Fox said it. They all said it. Take the jab, you won't get the virus. All of them were either A, lying, or B, they don't know what they're talking about. Either way, I don't trust you. So miss me with the compromising institutional credibility. All right, none of these institutions have credibility, should have any credibility with the everyday American citizen. And this is the reason why Trump got in the first place, because people stopped trusting these institutions and see that they're just doing what works for them, but not doing anything to help the everyday person. And most people are looking for the everyday person to help. Most people are looking for the government to help the everyday person, because most people are everyday people. Now, while I consistently emphasize to all of you that you should not be depending on or looking to the government to do a damn thing for you, I understand that a lot of people still think that way. Now, no matter how much I say it, the majority of people still think that way. And if they don't see the government doing anything to help them and only making things worse, they have a right to voice their concern, and they voice their concern at the ballot box. And at the ballot box, Donald Trump got elected twice. Depending on who you ask, might have been 3 times. We're not going to get into that today. So this institutional credibility, please miss me with this point. So Cook and Menarez, both of them. This Lisa Cook, she's the one they're trying to fire her from the Fed. And Menarez, Susan, she's the one they're firing from the CDC. They are seen as defending professionalism. I disagree. And it's rare for high-ranking officials to publicly push back, making their resignations and legal challenges acts of courage. I say bullshit. No, it's not. This is an appeal to emotion. All right, I'm going to use my own sounds here on just these points. Emotional, damn it. All right, that is an appeal to emotion. This is an act of courage for them refusing. No, it's not an act of courage. What it is a performative virtue signal, because they are showing everybody, hey, look at me going against Donald Trump. All right, who are they the first people to do that? So it's not an act of courage if you're just doing something that you've seen a whole bunch of other people doing already. All right, Gavin Newsom's been doing it. All these politicians have been doing it. Everybody's been doing it for the last 10 years. So now 10 years later, you want to jump in the ring of, hey, look at me going against Donald Trump. That requires no courage. Or you're a follower. You're just the next person in line. And y'all got to understand how these things work. To sue Donald Trump, because some may say, well, doesn't it take resources to sue somebody? Technically, yes. But if you have a bunch of lawyers already waiting to sue Donald Trump, this is looking for the right client to do it with, it doesn't take anything. So Lisa Cook, as soon as they told her she was fired, she got like 3 phone calls, not from her bosses, not from her colleagues, but from some lawyers that said, hey, you want to sue Donald Trump? I know exactly what lawsuit to put forth. I'll come represent you. I'll get you on TV. I'll get you a book deal on top of that. Let's go sue Donald Trump. Cost you no money out of pocket. That's the way it works. So no, this takes no courage whatsoever. So political careers are often built on obedience and following the rules. That is true. This type of resistance underlines that this situation has become extreme. That's false. See, that's the non sequitur. That's where y'all got to catch these language games that they play. This is a verbal sleight of hand. So is a political career built on following the rules and staying within the lines and not pissing off your higher ups? Is that true? Yes. Any bureaucratic organization, corporate America, academia, the government, they all are designed this way. Any of you work in these places, you know. You got to follow the rules. Don't piss off the wrong person. Color inside the lines, and you can have a 30-year career. You mess up on any one of those, you get fired. Everybody knows that's how it works. So it is true. However, what they're trying to follow with is the resistance that these women are showing. It shows that this must be an extreme situation. I say False. Partially false. Do I think this is an extreme situation? Yes, but not for that reason. Not because they got fired, but because they're going against Donald Trump. They see it as extreme. So anything we got to do to go against Trump, they'll do it. That's the extreme. It's not because anything that Donald Trump is doing is necessarily so crazy. And their show of resistance, as I already explained, this is performative virtue signaling. That's what it is. It's look everybody, look at me getting in line to go against Donald Trump. That's all that is. And you're not the first person doing it, so this takes no courage. You're not the first one doing it. They already tried to fire you. It didn't cost you any money. So what courage? What is this costing you? You're not putting anything on the line. Nothing. What are they putting on the line to do this? Zero. They're not putting anything on the line. They're just talking. And they got their lawyers doing most of the talking for them. So I completely reject this point. So skeptics argue that their refusals risk self-promotion. And yes, it is self-promotion, as I already explained to you all, performative virtue signaling. It may alienate their allies. I don't know who that would be. And it raises questions about whether public defiance is strategically beneficial or merely symbolic. I already told you all exactly what it is. Performative virtue signaling, which is symbolic. This is not some strategic thing. It is, but it isn't. The strategy is, let me sue Donald Trump, draw a lot of attention to myself. Maybe I get to keep my job, and then I get to basically stick my tongue out at Donald Trump for the rest of my time here or the rest of his term. Maybe I get to keep my job. If I don't get to keep my job and I end up getting fired, I can martyr myself. Now I can go on CNN and I can get me a TV show like Jen Psaki. I'm going to start my podcast. I'm going to go get a book publishing deal. And I'll just become the person who, quote unquote, stood up to Donald Trump. And they'll be speaking at the rallies in 2028. Whoever the Democratic nominee is, Gavin Newsom's going to bring them out to say, I stood up against Donald Trump. He tried to fire me from the Fed. And look at me. And make sure you go order my book when we get out of this rally. And they're just going to use these people as pawns to get their next person elected, maybe. And that person's going to go build a whole career off of, hey, I'm the one that Donald Trump tried to fire. Or he did successfully fire. If they win and don't get fired, they can be the strong person who stood up to Trump, the resistance. And if they lose, they can be the victim who got bullied and attacked by Donald Trump because you dared to stand against him and go against him. Either way, they win. Now, here's the question. What the hell does any of this do for you as an everyday voting American? You see, in the midst of all of this conversation, we tend to forget that all of these people's jobs is allegedly to help the everyday American voter. Isn't that what they're supposed to be doing? Isn't that their job? What is any of this doing to help the everyday citizen? So Lisa Cook at the Fed, what is she doing to help the everyday citizen in this process of suing Donald Trump and going on TV and going on CNN and telling everybody how she's resisting and Donald Trump's just going after his political enemies? And now, hey, I'm one of those political enemies. So now I'm up here now. I've elevated my status by becoming Donald Trump's political enemy. How's that helping you? She works for the Fed. Y'all know what the Fed does? All right, what is it doing to help you? The head of the CDC, who we already don't trust. What is she doing to help you? Oh, she's giving you data-driven information? Really, CDC? Data-driven information? Really? After 2020? I have no idea why the CDC even still exists, let alone is anybody listening to them. So standing firm is noble, but it can limit one's ability to influence from within and may feed partisan narratives. It is. That's all this is, a partisan narrative. So these events have already sparked legal fallout. I already told you about that. A bunch of people in the CDC quit, allegedly. So Mr. Dimitri, he quit yesterday, allegedly. And people walked out in protests, and people are walking out and they're basically getting their, what do we want to call it? They're taking victory laps. So this is a new thing. The new victory lap for the Democratic Party is to show that you got fired by Donald Trump. If you get fired by Donald Trump, or you quit because of Donald Trump, or you do anything that causes Donald Trump to respond to you at all, whether on social media or in some interview when he's talking to the press, anything you do to get Donald Trump to respond to you in a negative way, any kind of backlash that you pull out of Donald Trump, that's some reason to wave the flag and say, look at me, everybody. Look at this great thing that I did resisting Donald Trump. Here's the problem, especially for those of you who are hardcore, bleeding heart liberals, voters, I mean. What is any of this doing for you? Because remember, all of this is allegedly, remember the United States government, by the people and for the people. That's what the government is supposed to be. Let's not forget. By the people and for the people. What is any of this doing for the people? And do any of these people seem that they're one of you? Because it's supposed to be by the people. That's what the government is supposed to be. By the people, for the people. Are these people everyday people? Are they dealing with the everyday problems that most Americans are dealing with? I would say no. And are they doing anything for the everyday person? I would also say no. So what are we doing here? Let's not lose sight of the big picture. All it is theater to draw attention to themselves while you are allegedly, I guess, supposed to be happy because they're resisting Donald Trump. What does resisting Donald Trump do for you to be able to pay your bills? What's it doing? I don't know. If there's an answer, somebody has an answer, please let me know. So these results could redefine how independent agencies interact with political power. I agree that that is true. I think it's not going to ever be this extreme. Donald Trump's a once in a lifetime type of politician. Who else is anything like Donald Trump coming around? There's nobody even close. All the rest of the people we see in politics right now, everyone in the mix right now, all of them are lifetime politicians. All of them have spent their entire professional careers doing politics. Can you name one person who was noted and had a professional career doing anything other than politics before they got in who's active right now in the game? Like people we know. I can't name one. Nobody. There's nobody. Closest we had person threatening, or let's not even call it threatening, throwing it out there, dangling it out there like they might try was Stephen A. Smith from ESPN. I don't take that seriously. Stephen A. Smith does not have the depth. He ain't going to go there, and democratically, no way. And on the Republican side, I doubt it. Highly doubt it. There's nobody else. All the rest of these people are lifelong politicians. Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Shapiro, Rubin, AOC. They're all lifetime politicians. That's all they've done their whole lives. Elon Musk is not in politics. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith, he's the closest. That's what I said. He was the closest that we've heard of in the last, since Trump came back into office. And Stephen A. Smith is not serious. So who that's not a lifetime politician is in the mix. And Stephen A. Smith was in the mix for like 6 weeks. And now he's quiet. We ain't heard anybody say anything about him in 6 weeks. I think he's decided he's just going to settle into ESPN and that's it. There's nobody. So anyway, this spectacle reinforces narratives of vendetta governance. We already talked about that. The Trump purges opponents rather than debating ideas. I disagree. And Donald Trump as president doesn't have to debate anybody because there's nobody at his level. He doesn't have to debate you. He already won. You debate to win. He already debated with Kamala. Y'all remember that? He won the election. It's over. There is no debate. There's nothing to debate when you're the president. Who's he debating with? And about whether any federal institution can be trusted. The answer to that is no. None of them can be trusted. That's just my opinion. Public confidence in the Fed, the CDC, even emergency jab guidance may suffer collateral damage. This is a hilarious point. Emergency jab guidance. I hope we never have emergency jab guidance ever again. We had that already. All right. Some of you fell for it. All right. Don't be afraid to admit it. This is a safe space. You can admit it. You fell for the emergency jab guidance coming from the CDC, which is a joke. Now, if we get something like that again, I'm hoping that half the people who fell for the nonsense 5 years ago wouldn't be dumb enough to fall for it twice. As the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, y'all know the rest. So this crisis, it raises urgent questions about boundaries. Who can remove who? Who has access to agency data? The rule of law on federal management. Determine whether these rogue moves or structural shifts. It will define agency autonomy. I do agree with that. Because what happens in court is that legal precedent gets set. And a lot of times when there's a court case, the judge will look to legal precedent. What has happened in the past in situations that look and smell and sound like this one, and they rule based off that precedent because they want, theoretically, the justice system should be consistent. Okay, this is a similar case, this happened. So you know what? I'm going to use that as precedent, basically as a model for how I, the judge, am going to judge in this case is happening here today. It's supposed to happen that way. And it generally does. So if these cases being the first time we've seen something like this, how these actually work out play a big role in how it would work out if something like this happens in the future. So that part is true. Now, allowing such actions without safeguard risks empowering future political interference across administration transitions, setting a precedent that may erode independent federal checks. It's a very wordy point. So future political interference across administration transitions, setting a precedent that may erode independent federal checks. Erode independent federal checks. So who's independent? And that's the first question we got to ask. Who's independent that we trust, that is independent, impartial, has no dog in the race, and they just are giving us the truth objectively as it is? Who's that? What federal group is qualified to fit that description? I can't name one. So the future of institutions designed to operate beyond politics is at stake. I agree, but that future was already, we're in the future right now. The future is today. And we already know that happened in 2020. 2020 told everybody exactly what it was. 2020 told us when that virus hit that the federal government will get involved with organizations that are allegedly independent to tell you what to do, not ask you what to do, tell you what to do. And if you fall for the psyop, then hey, sorry about that. My bad, American citizens. We had you take a jab that was allegedly going to make you immune to the virus, and you got the virus anyway. Sorry about that. By the way, you can't sue us for it. So anybody who's thinking that this situation, anything that's happening today with Trump in any one of these institutions is threatening the operations of not unchecked, but independent institutions, I say that you missed 5 years ago. I suggest you go on the internet time machine, go on the Wayback Machine and look up what was happening in 2020. Wasn't that long ago. Y'all got short memories. So this whole concept of Trump is doing these things that is causing this mistrust. I say no. I reject that. I reject that argument completely. All that said, let's get into the comments. I'm gauging whether or not I should take a restroom break here. I think I should take a restroom break. So let me take a restroom break real quick. Give me 90 seconds, folks. And then we're going to get into the comments where we can get our favorite sound. Strawberry cheesecake. 90 seconds. I'll be right back. Here we go, folks. I'm back. That was less than 90 seconds. I'm quick. So let's get to it. Comments over on YouTube. Follies Philly said, don't pay them, then they will leave. Well, then they can still sue you for the money. Jim Wilson said, voters asked for exactly what President Trump is doing. This is true. Roger Russell said, have IT cut computer access, turn off their access badges, have their offices packed and waiting in a box for them. Yeah, well, that's assuming that they're actually fired. And if they sue, you can't do that quite yet. Mr. Dadio said, devil in the Democrats. Okay, fair enough. Jeff Bass said, another woke liberal suffering from TDS. I'm not a woke liberal, Jeff. I think you should probably have listened to more context of what I said before you left a comment. I don't have anybody accuse me of being a woke liberal. That's an interesting one. I think you might have heard 10 seconds of what I said to come to that conclusion. So Raghav Chopra, good morning. WOYFG, yes, sir. Good morning. So what we got over there on TikTok, we are here for the comments. Let's see what we got. PK Arnold McFry said they try to do anything they could do. That is true. Greg Hansen said was literally found guilty. Who are you talking about? You talking about Donald Trump? If you're talking about Trump, then you are factually correct. Problem is found guilty of what? How they come up with the charge. Does that charge have legal precedent? And did they do it because they were actually trying to protect citizens, which is the point of the judicial system? Or were they doing it because they were doing lawfare against Trump? With all that context, Greg.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
That's why it becomes a non sequitur, even though you are factually accurate. Sheila G137, thanks for the follow. Famous like Amos said, because he commits crimes.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
So, first of all, Greg Hansen, you get that's the non sequitur of the day. Or we just call pulling facts out of context. Dogwood said they took documents from his house that he was supposed to give back and were classified. Well, the thing is, Biden has situations of doing that too. Just they never sent the FBI to his house. So
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Famous like Amos said, you can't just do stuff to Trump. If he commits crimes, he gets taken to court. Again, all y'all are using the same fallacy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
IT Burnout says, wait till Tulsi Gabbard releases the election manipulation evidence. Heads will roll. Maybe. PK Arnold said they still couldn't hold him down. This is true. Famous said, I can't believe you read from that book and thought it was good. It was good. Well, what makes a good book, Famous Amos?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
How do you judge whether a book is good or not? The way I judge whether a book is good or not is, number one, does the book do what it said it was going to do? Donald Trump's book is titled Think Big and Kick Ass, and is basically a manifesto of the way that he thinks and explaining why his way of thinking has worked for him in his life. That's what the book is about. And did he explain it? Yes, he did. Very compendiously and in an entertaining way. That's what made the book good. It did what he said it was going to do. Now, that doesn't mean you have to like the author. Doesn't mean you have to like their techniques. But did he deliver on his promise? The answer is yes, he did. That's why the book is good. I'm an absolutist when it comes to these things. The problem that many of you have is that you are looking at it like, how do I personally feel about the person? Or how do I personally feel about the material? I'm not judging how I feel about it. I'm judging, did he do what he said he was going to do when I bought the book? And the answer is yes, he did. Big Sam says, so you're saying, Big Sam says, so you're saying, any of you are not familiar, one of the common tells for the straw man logical fallacy is to start a sentence with, so you're saying. So you're saying means, but I'm not even reading what Big Sam said yet, is that somebody's about to take what you said or what they claim you said. They're going to rephrase it into something that they said, and then they're going to argue against it as if they're arguing your point when they're actually arguing their own version of your point. And they often do this through a form of a question, through incredulity, through ridicule, or some form of sarcasm. This is usually the frame of the straw man. Let's see if Big Sam hits all the check boxes. He says, so you're saying Trump getting revenge is justified by all the things they did to Trump. LOL, okay. So Big Sam, first of all. Strawberry cheesecake. Secondly.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
And third.
Combination.
So Big Sam, here you are with the triple-double already. So the triple-double award goes to Big Sam. He also gets the first Straw Man of the Day award. He also gets the first Appeal to Ridicule award of the day. Big Sam, you're like the Michael Jordan of these comments, the way you collect these trophies. So let's break down Big Sam's fallacies here all in one. He's got a couple of them. So you're saying, first of all, it's a tell for the straw man. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a straw man. It's just a tell. And he said Trump getting revenge is justified. First of all, I didn't say that Trump was getting revenge. I'm saying that if he wanted to get revenge, I read from his book to give you an example that Trump is the type of guy who would get revenge. I didn't say he was doing it here. He has cause, as I explained the cause. Monarez didn't do what RFK said, and Lisa Cook literally is doing mortgage fraud when she works in the mortgage department of the Fed. So this is cause. That's not getting revenge. I don't know if he even knew who these women were before this happened. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he has cause. So this is not him just getting revenge blindly. And what is he getting revenge on them for? By the way, Big Sam, he wanted to get revenge. Why didn't he go after Kamala, Joe Biden, or Hillary Clinton, or Barack Obama? If he wanted to get revenge, he'd go after the big fish because he's a big fish himself. These women are small fish compared to Donald Trump. So this frame is inaccurate. And then you said justified by all the things they did to Trump. Oh, well, okay. That's the appeal to ridicule. And is also the sarcasm, which is a tell for your logical fallacy. So once again, let me represent you your awards. Strawberry cheesecake.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Combination.
So congrats, Big Sam. All right. Famous like Amos says, spreading lies. User 251 said, Drake, come on. What are you responding to? Honey Bear said, so you're saying, here we go again. Here we go again. People can't help themselves with this logical fallacy known as a straw man. And I've told y'all all this multiple times. Once you understand the frame of the straw man and you understand how it works, you will start noticing it damn near every time you hear people talking, especially if there's a disagreement. Anytime you hear people disagreeing with each other, you're going to see the straw man over and over and over again so much that you won't even have time to point it out because it happens so often. Honey Bear says, so you're saying he didn't have documents at Mar-a-Lago? We have photos. Strawberry cheesecake. Honey Bear, I did not say that he didn't have documents. And yes, everybody's seen the photos of the documents. What I said was They went and made a story out of that and a news item out of that because he's not the first president, nor will he be the last to take documents from DC to a place that they're not supposed to be technically. He's the only one who got charged with it, and they tried to make a crime out of it. No one else got charged with it. Joe Biden has documents. Joe Biden had documents, and nobody came after him. So that's my point. The point is that they did it against Trump because they're trying to get Trump, not because he necessarily did something that's so egregious that they had to go after him. So, Honey Bear, you get the second.
Strawberry cheesecake.
June said Trump just canceled Kamala's Secret Service protection. You would have to verify that. I didn't hear about that, so I don't know if that's true or not. I am Maurice said you tap dance pretty good. Okay, so this is.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
This usually comes from a black person, and I am Maurice looks like he's black. A black person who's listening to me, and I'm mentioning Donald Trump. Usually, if I'm mentioning Donald Trump or anything regarding race, and I'm not trashing the white person or I'm not trashing Trump, some black people get mad and they go and try to attack me. So,
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
So you get the second ad hominem of the day. That's this one.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
And you get the second, and I assume you're trying to be funny. So you get the second appeal to ridicule.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
User said, if that was actually true, then how come Pence didn't go to jail? Nobody went to jail. I mean, a lot of things can be true and nobody goes to jail. Don Bellinger said, you're brainwashed.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Congrats, Don Bellinger. Honey Bear said, y'all know nothing about politics.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Big Sam said, how Sway could he have put Hillary in jail for what? The email server situation. Sarcasm Rants, thank you for the follow. Honey Bear said, okay, Bill Cosby. What is that supposed to mean, Honey Bear? I don't think most people get the Bill Cosby reference. What are you referring to? You're going to have to spell that one out. No Longer Law said they waited till Trump was president. Well, they waited till he was trying to run for president. Linda said, you sound like a Trump supporter trying to keep your platform. Too bad nothing sticks.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Okay, so it looks like this is going to be the one we use a lot here today.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
I sound like a Trump supporter. First of all, Linda, this is a straw man. Actually, you get a straw man award too.
Strawberry cheesecake.
It's a straw man because, and it's also an appeal to, is an ad hominem. So we'll keep it at the ad hominem, which you already got, which is when someone uses Trump supporter or MAGA or Republican, they use it as the pejorative. So you said you sound like a Trump supporter as if being a Trump supporter is some type of negative thing. It's like somebody saying you sound like a liberal as if it's a negative thing. If someone's a Trump supporter, it doesn't make them bad. Doesn't mean they did anything wrong. I am not a Trump supporter. I have no political side. But you saying I sound like one as if I'm doing something wrong is ridiculous and is an illogical frame. So obviously you're emotionally triggered by what you've heard. Then you said trying to keep your platform. First of all, Linda, I already have a platform. And whether I was trashing Trump or praising Trump, I would still have a platform because of my skill of explaining, articulating, and breaking things down objectively and logically, no matter what side I was on or being on no side whatsoever. So I'm not trying to keep my platform. Third, my platform is not based on talking about politics. I run a business called Work On Your Game Incorporated, which I've explained already, was about presence and command of the room through process, systems, discipline, confidence, and performance. None of which has anything to do with keeping a platform. On top of that, I was a nearly 10-year professional athlete. So Linda, please miss me with trying to keep my platform speaking on anything that has to do with current events. Then you said, too bad nothing sticks. Well, Linda, if you really believe that,
is that like a personal attack or something?
Why are you still here? If nothing is sticking, why are you watching? Why are you listening? And why did you get to the point of typing in the comment if nothing is sticking? Because right now there's 147 people in the room. So if nothing is sticking,
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
You have to try again. So Big Sam says, all right, here's Big Sam with another logic. I think Big Sam just tries to get the logical fallacy awards. I think he's trying to do it on purpose. Big Sam, are you doing this on purpose? You're just trying to get the strawberry cheesecake award? You like the sound? You like strawberry cheesecake, Big Sam? Pause. So Big Sam says, they raid Trump's house, find boxes of classified document, and Trump is the victim. LOL. Okay. All right. So I'll give you another one, Big Sam.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Because clearly you appreciate strawberry cheesecake. Karina023, thank you for the rose. KC Kitties, thank you for the follow. Karina, thank you for the goats. Victor said, go MAGA. Real S said, rent free in their head. Well, it's actually good, Real S, because they make these comments interesting. Big Sam says, so in your lifetime have not seen an entire part resist a president. What? I don't quite get what you said there. You had to rephrase that one. Realist, thank you for the follow. First point of view said DEI, Department of Education, reclassifying employee protections. What are you referring to? Casey Kitty said they keep after him to discredit him as he continues to expose the corruption. Well, they tried to discredit him in 2016. It didn't work, but they don't have another plan. That's the problem the Democrats had. They don't have a plan B. Let's just try to discredit Trump and make him look bad to the everyday person. And they convinced about half the people to agree with that. The problem is the other half who didn't agree. And the more they try to make him look bad, the more the other half pushes back against them. And this is how we have this divide right now when it comes to the way that people think. The Democratic Party did not shift strategies after it was clear that their original strategy didn't work. They just tripled down on it, and they're still doing it to this day. The problem is there's another election coming up in 2028, and Trump won't be running, and they don't have a new strategy in place. That's their problem. It's not that they're going against Trump. I mean, going against Trump works. I get it. It gets you on TV. It gets you followers on the internet. But at some point, Trump's going to be gone, and y'all still have to try to win an election. So what's the plan? Somebody should be asking that question in the Democratic Party right now. I'm not sure anybody's asking. So that's the issue. F your liberal feelings is the name of the account. Thank you for the follow. Ange Does Teeth said, if you call the DNC, they won't listen. They are their own demise. Well, the DNC should hire me as a consultant. I can help them a lot. Becca, thank you for the follow. First point of view said, anything you say against Israel is a crime. I've heard. Big Sam said, he is the swamp. How is he going to drain it? His entire first administration arrested and jailed. Well, it's two different points you're making there. I don't think he's the swamp because he was talking about draining the swamp before he even got arrested. So how is he the swamp? That's the non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
His entire first administration arrested and jailed. Well, I get directionally what you're saying, but a lot of people in his first administration, Trump has said himself that he trusted people who were already vetted, and he learned his lesson of not trusting those people. He needed to bring in people he already trusted rather than trusting entrenched DC politicians. So the second point you made there of his first administration getting arrested and jailed, well, some of that's because Trump didn't like those people in the first place. And he's been adamant about that ever since his first term. K.O. Hardy said, like the FBI and DOJ in 2024. What are you referring to? What are you responding to? Shirley Gimney 16 said, I don't like President Trump, just the way he is communicating his plans. I don't dislike President Trump, just the way he is communicating his plans. Okay, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, he's communicated about the exact same way for the last 50 years. First point of view said, how does Trump help black Americans? That's a red herring.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
A red herring is when someone introduces a topic or a question or a point that has nothing to do with the topic being talked about as a way of diverting the direction of the conversation. So you asking about Trump helping black Americans is not the topic here today. IT Burnout said, never interfere with an enemy while they're in the process of destroying themselves. Yeah, that's right. I'm not an enemy of the Democrats. I would help them out for the right amount of money, but they haven't called yet. So instead, they got that chick, Julia, the fat chick from Texas, trying to bring men back to the Democratic Party, which is a ridiculous premise. IT Burnout, congrats on the gifted badge. Robert Powell Kelly said, data can be manipulated to show your side. Yes, data can be manipulated to show anything. That's the whole point. That's the reason why facts don't matter. Black Sheep 1903 said, not with Trump, he's going to F this country with the alternative numbers that favors him. Yes, they said that in 2016, Black Sheep. You need to send that argument back to 9 years ago where you got it from. Notorious said, you definitely a conservative.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
No, that sounds like using conservative as a pejorative. PK Arnold said, people are too judgmental. Casey Kitty said, the government is bloated and inefficient. I agree. I support Trump's decision to make cuts. I generally agree with it too. Now, what cuts he makes, it depends on what they are, how they work. And generally, we don't really know the details of all this stuff because it's too bloated for us to even go through all the details. Black Sheep said, you voted for him. We aren't assuming is your word. No, I never said that.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
If I ever said I voted for Trump, please pull the clip and send it to me because I don't remember saying it. So if I said something that I didn't say, please send it to me so I can find out. Auntie Vezin said, have you ever considered getting into politics? Yes, I get asked this question often. And I would not get into politics for a couple of baseline reasons. Number one is that when you're a politician in the United States of America, to be successful, i.e. to win an election, you have to lie for a living. I don't like lying to people for a living. I can lie every now and then, but I can't lie as a full-time job all day, every day. To be a politician in America, you have to lie all day. I don't want to lie all day. Number two is that if I got into politics, that means there are people I would have to answer to because the government is designed as a system of checks and balances, meaning no one has unchecked powers. Anything you want to do, you have to go through somebody else who goes through somebody else who goes through somebody else in order to do stuff. And I don't like having a boss. I'm an entrepreneur for a reason because I don't like anybody being able to tell me what to do. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're the boss. I'm the boss now. If I get into politics, then I will have a boss. I don't like having bosses. So that's another reason why I would not get involved in politics. And another reason is that when you work in politics, technically, by what is documented, there's a ceiling on your income because there's how much money you make when you have this job or this amount of time, you get this much money. There's a ceiling. I don't like having ceilings on my income. I like unlimited income potential, which is why I'm a salesperson and an entrepreneur. Now, technically in the government, you get access to things that can allow you to make a lot more money, but it's not on paper. It's not announced. So technically you can get access to a lot of other things when you're in government, but I don't know if I want to play all of that just to win an election. Another reason why is because I'm going to need donor money. And to get donor money, you have to be willing to do things for the people that gave you money. You accept a donation from somebody. Eventually, they're going to call you and say, I need you to do A, B, C or support X, Y, Z in exchange for that money that I gave you for you to win your election. And now you got to do it because they paid for you to win. And if you don't do it, now they're not going to help you win the next one and your career will be over. So now you got to toady up to all these people and do what they want you to do. And it becomes all this stuff that I don't want to have to deal with, none of which I had to deal with as an entrepreneur. So anti-Vazen, have I thought about getting into politics? Yes. And there I just gave you my shorthand answer as to my response as to why not. Honey Bear said, so you're being contradicting because they claim crime is down in DC. What do you mean? Yes, they did say crime is down in DC, but who's they? So people were saying crime is down in DC before Trump sent the troops in. Then Trump sent the troops in and crime went down even further. So what are you talking about? Danimal said, you are so knowledgeable. Thank you. Gina Duque said, God bless you. Someone else who could think for themselves. I have voted Dem and Republican. All right, fair enough. Thank you. K.S. Priest, thank you for the heart. No Longer Lost and Lamont 71, thank you for the follows. Carrie, go get them. Good morning. Jerry said, you can't pick what's factual. Yes, you can. You can very easily pick what's factual. Again, I gave this example already. If you say, who does the most homicides in America? If you just go off raw numbers of homicides, then obviously it's white men commit the most homicides in America. By raw data, that's a fact. Now, if you say who commits the most homicides in America, and I say per capita, if we go by the number of people there are in a group, then the number of murders based on the number of people, and per capita is obviously black men. Both are facts. So yes, you can pick and choose what's factual, and you can present factual information based on whatever story you want to tell. Very easy to manipulate people with data and facts.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
So Blessed says, the Fed is our enemy. I understand. Daryl Harrods, thank you for the follow. Black Sheep said, kind of like when he used the Sharpie to redirect that hurricane. I don't know what you're talking about. Emilio Ramon, 54, said, you are describing the media. I don't know what I said, but I probably was. Ali, thank you for the share. And the hearts. Southern Access, thank you for the follow. So Blessed said, the money is not even backed by gold anymore. Well, yes, I talked about that. I did a whole live stream on this subject, why the middle class is disappearing. I did a podcast episode on it too. I should probably mention that to y'all. I do have a podcast. Some of you consider this a podcast. This is not my podcast. I have a podcast on the podcasting apps. It is called Work on Your Game. It looks like this. It's about 20 minutes per episode. Let me see, my last couple episodes. 24 minutes, 26 minutes, 21, 27, 25. So let's say 25 minutes per episode. 25 minutes per episode. And it's me talking more on evergreen topics. It's not current events. So you want to hear me talking about the things that I do more on a professional level, evergreen stuff, mindset, strategy, systems, accountability, execution, business performance, business strategy, systems, all of those things. That's on my podcast. It's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple. You can find it on Spotify. We put the videos on YouTube, but on YouTube, I'm just sitting in front of the camera talking. I'm not reading comments. So you don't need to look at it. You can just listen to it. And we have a bigger audience on audio than we have video. So you can find that on Apple or Spotify. It's called Work on Your Game. Comes out every single day. Or just click the link in my profile, and we have links to all of these things. Everything I'm going to mention here today, there are links to everything in the link in my profile, which is workonyourgame.live. I made that specifically for my live stream audiences. Ali, good morning. Traditional all day, good morning. Dead Sledhead said, Trump is unhinged and pathetic. He's too self-absorbed to be any type of leader.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
How do you really feel? So Blessed said, proud to say I or my family didn't get the jab. Me too. Black Sheep said, I sure do trust RFK. Then you put a laughing face, so I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. Big Sam said, so how does Trump have credibility? Define what credibility you're talking about. One way he has credibility is that he got elected president. I mean, does that count for credibility in your mind? What are you saying? Jason G, thanks for the follow. RJ said, that's misleading. The scientists of those institutions are incredible. It's the systems they work in. Okay, maybe RJ. How do you know they're incredible? Based on what metric and what measure, and how can you objectively look at them and know that they're incredible? How would you know? So what you're saying is misleading. You're saying that they're incredible based on what? Maybe they are incredible and they work in a trashy system. Well, if you work in a trashy system, the system has more power than you do. So you work there. So I'm trashing the system and you work in the trashy system. Don't be mad at me for pointing out that you work in a place that's trash. I didn't say any of the scientists working at the CDC were wrong. I said the CDC said, take the jab, you won't get the virus. Did they say that? They did. The CDC said that. They didn't say this scientist said it. They said the CDC said it. So what you're saying is misleading, RJ, not what I'm saying.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Tiffany Cherie, thanks for the follow. Honey Bear said, like Trump is following Obama's deportation numbers. According to what I've read, Obama did more deporting than Trump did in his first term. And there's hardly any illegal immigration happening right now in America ever since Tom Homan and company shut down the border. I.e. shut down. They didn't really, not AKA shut down the border. They didn't shut it down. I don't even mean to say AKA. What they did was actually enforce the law. Novel concept. They enforced the law. They enforced our immigration rules. Now all of a sudden there's no illegal immigration. Interesting what happens when you just follow the rules. Big Sam said, is an act of courage is not resisting Trump, is resisting tyranny. Well, people are using those together. So it's pretty much the same thing. So Des Sled said, you cannot lead people when your ego leads you. The constant lying is pathetic. Yeah.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Deadhead, where'd you get this comment from? Hillary Clinton? Just like 10 years old. People have been saying that since 2016. Steve Alemo, thank you for the follow. Honey Bear said, the constant fear mongering against black and Ben people is crazy. I'm assuming you mean brown. Constant fear mongering? What fear mongering? What are you referring to? I'm black. I don't know what you're talking about. What fear mongering is there against black people by Donald Trump's administration? I don't know about it, and I'm black. So you tell me what I'm missing. Where am I not seeing this?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Broken Chains, thank you for the follow. Dead Sled said he's just the wrong person for the job. Well, Dead Sled, if you believe that, you could have voted against him in 2024. And the problem is, even if you did, there wasn't enough of you, which is why Trump won the election.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
KO said, or maybe I get offered a job at CNN or MSNBC. Yeah, I mentioned that. Carla, congrats on the gifter badge. Tara Mills says, complete manipulation of the American people. What is? Jack Marius said, I wouldn't be able to vote if it wasn't for virtue signaling. What do you mean by that? You don't have to tell people what you voted. So it's only virtue signaling when you start telling people. Technically, it only becomes eligible as virtue signaling when you start telling people. Doesn't mean you're virtue signaling just by announcing who you voted for, necessarily. Honey Bear said, he's not leaving office and y'all can thank yourselves for that. Now, Honey Bear, please.
Strawberry cheesecake. Emotional, damn it.
He's not leaving office. He's leaving office. Big Sam said, so you are saying, I think Big Sam's doing this on purpose. What do y'all think? So you are saying they should just lay down and let Trump run amok, resist tyranny. No, come on.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I'm not even breaking down these logical fallacies. These straw mans, I'm not even breaking them down anymore. I'm just going to play the sound. Honey Bear said, like, they didn't just redistrict in Texas. Do you know why they redistrict in Texas, Honey Bear? It's not whether or not they did it. See, this is how you can lie with facts. So any of you wondering how you can mislead somebody with a fact, did Texas do redistricting? Yes, they did. Now, is there a reason why they did it? Yes, there is. Can you explain logically why it was wrong? If you can't, then you bringing this up is a non sequitur. This is a logical fallacy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Jack Marius says she's advocating for herself. Maybe. On the surface, it sounds like it, but there's a lot more to the story. Dane Marie, thank you for the share. Big Sam says, an everyday voting American, when I see these people resist tyranny, it gives me hope. Yeah, okay. What do I give you for that one?
Emotional, damn it.
That sounds good, Big Sam. And I halfway believe you, but I halfway don't. Now, Heck said, what this does for me is it gets me to dive deep into what's going on so I can vote the best way. Fair enough. The challenge with that, Heck, is that everybody says that, is that they dive deep and they get informed so they can make the best decision, because very rarely does a person come out and say, I'm always voting Democrat no matter what, or I'm always voting Republican no matter what. Almost everybody says that they make a logical choice based on looking at the information and getting the best knowledge that they can, and then they make an informed decision. Every voter says that that's what they're doing. 99% of them are lying. I'm not saying you're lying, but 99% of people who say that are lying. They're making an emotional decision. Then they're coming up with a logical justification based on hand-picked facts that serve their emotional choice. That's how most people behave, just in general. This is simple human nature. Top notch, thanks for the follow. Big Sam said, what will you tell your grandchildren when a failed attempt at fascism is in the history books that, come on.
Emotional, damn it.
Appeal to emotion, Big Sam. Come with something better than that. Dead Sledhead said he causes stress and uncertainty in everyone more than necessary, which is literally poison.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay. Emotional, damn it. Combination.
So Dead Sledhead, congrats on the combination award. The Logical Fallacy combination award. You got the triple double. You and Big Sam got the 2 triple doubles today. And Bobo Boo Boo says, what's your alternative to the CDC? Now, that's a red herring. I didn't say the CDC needs to go away. I said we don't trust the CDC. They can still exist. It's a red herring because you're trying to send the conversation down a path that is not the subject here today. The subject today is not the CDC. Big Sam said, yes, everyone standing up and fighting tyranny are the people. Well, it depends on what you're calling tyranny.
Emotional, damn it.
So this is a verbal sleight of hand. You're saying people are standing up and fighting tyranny. Well, first of all, let's get a clear definition of what tyranny is, and then let's agree on what is tyranny and what is not. You're thinking past the sale, and you're assuming that something is accepted. Oh, this must be tyranny because now we're talking about fighting it, but we haven't even agreed on the fact that it's tyranny in the first place. This is the verbal sleight of hand, folks. So if y'all notice these kind of things, I'm pointing them out for a reason so y'all can notice this, because you'll see this on TV all day. Honey Bear said, what has supporting him done? This is a non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So Honey Bear went and did the same thing Big Sam just did. What has supporting him done? Well, I don't know why you're asking it to me, because, again, I have no political side. And you're asking this question as if supporting him is already accepted as true. That's the logical fallacy. When people have the presumption already baked into the question, this is called a loaded question. A loaded question fallacy is if someone asks a question that already has a presumption baked into it that you haven't even agreed to yet. So by even addressing the question, you're accepting the presumption. And most people use these without even knowing that they're doing it. There are some people who do it on purpose. I don't think the people in my comments today are doing it on purpose. I think this is just your normal way of speaking. It's logically inaccurate. Let's see. Brett Debor says JD Vance. JD Vance, what was he doing? What was he known for? I'm talking about publicly noted. Tucker says AOC was a bartender. She was not a publicly noted bartender. We only knew her name when she got into politics. Before that, nobody knew who she was. Lena Zimzum, Elon Musk is not a politician. Wifey Tips, congrats on the gifter badge. Lena said Musk said he would run. Elon Musk will do nothing. He's not running for anything. I'm okay says like people get it to politics just to get rich, nothing more. Sometimes that's it, but then politicians come out and say they don't have that much money. So we don't know who to believe. That's the whole problem. We don't know who to believe. Fifth letter said, are you considered a hard right or nationalist leaning influencer? So here it is again. This is also known as a false binary. We're going to break this one down.
Combination. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So fifth letter said, are you considered a hard right or a nationalist leaning influencer? I don't think I'm considered either one. I don't consider myself nationalist or hard right. And I don't even consider myself an influencer. I may have influence, but I'm not an influencer like people who do this type of shit for a living. I'm not that. I run a business that is not about influencing, not the type of influencing like on the internet, this type of stuff. So I run a coaching, business consultancy, and enterprise company where we help teams, businesses, entrepreneurs, and business professionals on command of the room and presence was all about weaponizing discipline, performance, consistency, confidence, systems, and structure. So the answer is neither one. And the reason I gave you the logical fallacy here is because you offered me a false binary here. I don't know if this is the way you meant it, but this is the way that I read it. False binary is you offer me two choices, neither of which is the one that I choose. So that's what makes it a false binary. Again, I don't know if you did that on purpose. Jazz Saxman, thank you for the follow. Traditional said a lot of us failed. Failed what? Atos Palladian, thank you for the follow. Carla, Indiana, thank you for the goat. Trizzy said, why can't we trust our federal agencies? Trump drained the swamp. No, he tried to drain the swamp. He didn't actually drain it. He tried. Over on YouTube, Mr. Dadio said, 2020 Trump was surrounded by enemies. Anything Trump did was attacked or hijacked by the left. He was surrounded by enemies. That's true. Baron Ron Schneider said they brought it on themselves. Okay. Angela Patterson said Colorado Springs. Why'd you say that? Chris Rogers, no. Flumani Grant said W. Dre. Thank you. Timothy Dressel says, sir, what are you actually doing? Why are you reading comments? Provide your own opinions and facts. People tuning in are lost and you missed the shot. Well, Timothy, I've been live for about an hour and 45 minutes here, Timothy. So if anybody's lost, you are lost. I did an hour plus of content. Now I'm just reading the comments. If you got a problem with me reading the comments, get the fuck out of here. You need to figure out who you're talking to. So, Kathleen, thank you. Said, nice tie. Traditional said, how about when they did the mock rehearsal? Who are you talking about? Ashley Mack said, and now you have immune system failure for taking it. Well, I didn't take it, so I can't speak for that. NC Vastin, thank you for the follow. Where was I in the comments? I lost my spot. Sometimes the comments refresh when I get near the bottom, or I think I'm near the bottom, and then I got to catch back up to where I was. All right, I found my spot again. Big Sam said, if a president that knew what he was doing, got in office with all these checks and balances gone, you got a fragment there. I don't know the rest of your point. Justin said, isn't the left or right? People voted in Trump because career politics have failed the people. Generally, I agree. Ashley Mack said, another great conversation. Thanks, Dre. You're welcome. Big Sam said, this entire live is trying to defend Trump's ability to fire independent employees. LOL. Nah.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay. Strawberry cheesecake. Combination.
Nice job, Big Sam. You got another triple-double award right there. And firing independent employees. Trump does have a say, because if he didn't have a say over firing these quote-unquote independent employees, why are they suing him? They could just ignore him and laugh at it and keep working. The fact they're going to court is proof that he does have a say. That's the whole point. So, Big Sam, that's a swing and a miss, even though you did commit several logical fallacies at once. Niece 61, thank you for the follow. Big Sam said, if he had that power, it would not be a court challenge. Well, you just went against your own argument. If they're independent employees and you're laughing at his ability to fire them, then why are they going to court? Again, if he didn't have any power whatsoever in that situation, that'd be like Trump saying, Dre, you're fired. I could just laugh at that. There's nothing to talk about because he can't fire me. Fire me from where? But if they're going to court, that means that there is some substance to him saying that person is fired. So it doesn't even add up. And I see some of you responding. I think Big Sam does this on purpose. I think this is Big Sam's enjoyment. All right, it's cool though because he gets me to play.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And I know a lot of y'all like the strawberry cheesecake sound, so y'all should be thanking Big Sam. Don't get mad at him. That's a thank him. Carla said, Big Sam, I missed your nonsense. Back to being the highest award winner. Well, he is the highest award winner. Big Sam's Jordan. He's Big Jordan. He's Jordan over here. Brian Miller said, Big Sam's Oscar Robertson of comments. Triple-double king. Well, I think we got to give it to Russell Westbrook. I mean, Oscar Robertson, I think Russell passed him. He averaged a triple-double, I think, more than once, Russell. And he did it more than once. Oscar Robertson only did it once. Double S said, he is not saying that. It seems like you like to deflect and twist people's words. Okay, what did I deflect? What subject did I deflect? And what words did I twist? Tell me what I did. Tell me the specific point that I deflected on. Big Sam said he's going after them. He just removed Hillary's Secret Service. He is trying to trump up charges on Obama. No. Tulsi Gabbard came forward with the actual documentation of what happened with Obama. It was detailed. If you listen to anybody who talks about politics in detail, they broke it down. Megyn Kelly broke it down in much detail what exactly happened in the Obama administration. He's not trumping up charges. He's not making them up out of nowhere. He has cause, as opposed to what was happening to him in 2024. And I didn't hear any of these people you're mentioning, Hillary, Obama, Biden, or Kamala, speak up in defense of him during that time. I didn't hear any of them say anything. Big Sam said he's trumping up charges on Obama. No, he's not. Listen to Megyn Kelly's episode where she went into detail on the whole thing, on all of the documentation and all the things that Tulsi Gabbard put forward. Now, are they going to be able to bring charges is a different question. But is there a legitimate reason to look at it? Yes, there is. And if you listen to it and you don't see a legitimate reason, then I'd be interested to hear your take on why that is. Is Underwood said, do you want to get into that Hillary documents or even Joe Biden and all of them? What do you mean? Shelby said, isn't he allowed to take what he wants when he left the White House? He can't take just anything. Belinda said, in any business or job, it's up to you to get rid of any bad apple so everything can run smoothly. Well, if you're the boss, it's up to you. Now, if you're just a worker, not necessarily. Trizzy said, they did come after Biden. He just handed the classified documents over instantly. Well, at least that's what they told you. Again, what mainstream media outlet told you that? Do you trust them to tell you the truth all the time? That's the problem. Hot Cheetos said, was he asked that he had the documents? Well, it depends on who you want to listen to. That's the problem. That's the whole issue here, folks, is that who are you listening to? Who do you believe? But Heck said Trump was president when he took docs. Biden was a senator. What was he doing with them? Okay, so here's another argument. Carlos said with the documents, he was president. Biden had documents from when he was a senator. So there you go. Two people said the same thing. Vivian said, yes, it just hit the news. He canceled Kamala's Secret Service protection. Okay, well, Kamala, she can hire her own people, I guess. She could use the money from her book sales. It's all about you, store chat box. Thank you for the follow. Vivian says, I'm watching you. A pop up on my phone. Trump canceled her protection. Okay, fair enough. It's all about you. Said you were shooting down their arguments like a quick draw gunslinger. Great job. I've been doing this for a while. Somebody put a link in here. We can't tap links on this app, Red Wine, so links are useless. Double S says that we have a lot of photos of the files. Let's keep it real. Well, what type of files are there? Just because you got a photo of a bunch of papers sitting on a floor does not mean that they are the files. What is in the files? You don't know. All we saw was a big picture of a bunch of documents sitting on the floor in his bathroom. What files are there? Do you know? Do you have proof? Do you have any reason to know for sure what those files are? All you know is what the news told you. And here's my question. Do you believe the news? Does the news always tell you the truth? Is the news skewed to say negative things about Donald Trump? So do you believe the news? No. Does the news always tell the truth? No. Is the news skewed to say negative things about Trump? Yes. So even if they are telling the truth, the problem is there is reasonable doubt because they have lied so many times and gone so negative against Donald Trump. We don't trust them anymore. That's the problem. So the problem is this is all of us deciding what we want to believe and then arguing about it as if the other side of the conversation has to agree with your information. We don't. And they don't. That's the whole problem. No one has to agree with anybody else's information. This is why I keep telling you all facts don't matter. So many of you keep throwing out these quote unquote facts as if they matter. They don't matter. No one has to agree. So let's see. Over on YouTube, Big Unk said, do you support, I think that's supposed to be Trump. Do I support Trump? I am not on any side politically, if that's what you're asking. I've already answered this question like 10 times. Carmen said, what are you guys talking about? Trump refused to leave. He's the president of the USA. He's not going anywhere here. He's safe forever president. No, they're talking about the future, Carmen. They're not talking about right now. Carmen said, the best president ever this country has ever had and will for 4 more years and above. His sons will take over for sure. We love our president, commander in chief. Okay, fair enough, Carmen. We know how you feel. And I don't know if his sons are coming in. I think he's probably looking at J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, at least as of today. Renee said, I'm dying, Dre. Crying emojis. Well, thank you. Matt Man the first, thanks for the follow. Double S said, it's very dangerous being a Trump supporter. Are you saying that from personal experience or what are you referring to? Vivian said, anyone that follows you knows you are not political, no affiliation to a political party. Yes, I had to say that every time Trump's name comes up because people who don't like anything I'm saying about him, if you're neutral about Donald Trump, people assume you're a Trump supporter and they get mad and they start attacking. That's what I found to be true. Justin says, insane, the media divides the people instead of uniting or helping our people. Well, that's not the media's job to unite people. Media's job is to get you excited. So whatever they need to do, they do. Drea said, what do you gain by defending the actions of administration? Doesn't care if you live or die. Okay.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Drea, welcome.
Emotional, damn it. Strawberry cheesecake. Combination.
Drea, congratulations on the triple-double award. So you said, what do you gain by defending the actions of... So first of all, you're saying I'm defending the actions of this administration. That is a loaded question because you're presuming something that's not true. So the presumption is built into the question. Again, tricky verbal sleight of hand there. Then you said an administration doesn't care if you live or die. If me, you mean me as an American citizen? Do you mean me as a black person? What exactly are you referring to there? That is the appeal to emotion. That's the emotional damage. And then you're saying that I'm defending them and you're using it pejoratively as if I'm doing something wrong by saying anything even neutral about the current Trump administration. That is the ad hominem. And all of this is combined into a straw man because you're straw manning my position as if I'm doing these things that I'm not actually doing. And that's why you get the combination award. So congratulations to you, Drea, on a triple double. First comment, I think it's the first comment we've seen from you, and you already got a triple double first game of the season. Congratulations. Let's see. Carla said, you sound like a liberal is a negative thing. Just saying. Fair enough. We're at 100,000 likes, folks. Keep going with the likes. Keep going with the likes. I may go overtime today. We technically have 5 minutes on the clock, but I might keep going if the comments are good. Kathleen, thank you for the round of applause. Redwan Jaffer, stop spamming my comments with the same thing. I already said once that you cannot tap links on this app. So you putting a link in here means absolutely nothing. And nobody's going to click on the link. You got to make your point in the comment. If you can't make your point in the comment, then you got to get better at brevity. Vivian said, I like that about you. No political preference, just honesty. Well, thank you. Nee said, once you leave political position, you should not have Social Security and political. Well, it depends. It depends. KO said, you're proving that your business is working because you got her to stay and respond. Yes, exactly. And this is not even my business talking about politics. I just do this because it's fun and it's good practice for me knocking down people's bullshit, regardless of the subject. Big Shot said, being a liberal is not a bad thing. If they turn it into a bad thing, is. Well, I'm not saying being a liberal. I'm saying when people say you sound like a liberal, depending on the context, they're using it as a pejorative. Whether liberal is good or bad is not the point. Is that they use it as a pejorative. It's like somebody saying, oh, you sound like a black MAGA. They say it in a way that they're trying to make it look like you're bad for being that. So it depends on the context. They're using the term as a pejorative. Mr. Ohio J said either Sam is doing this on purpose or he on the lower end of the spectrum. It could be both. And Kathleen says Sam wants the attention. Big Sam is family. I think he left. Yolanda Perez, thank you for the follow. Ashley Victoria, thanks for the follow. West said Trump, best president ever. Leon said MAGA equals low IQ.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Nico, like the strawberry cheesecake. Red Wine, thanks for the follow. Big Justin said Big Sam is getting that $8K a month check. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Double S said when Trump opens his mouth, he looks bad.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Trizzy said Trump wants to run in 2028. We should let him. I don't think he wants to run. He's going to be 80-something years old. Big Sam said exactly all Trump has to do is speak, and he makes himself look bad.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Yeah, get them likes up, everybody. Big Sam said, how does Trump help any Americans, period? Well, there are people in here who like Trump. You hear me reading the comments, don't you? Drea said again, what do you feel you gain by defending an administration that actively views you as a threat?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Emotional, damn it. Strawberry cheesecake. Combination.
Congratulations, Drea, with another triple double. But you said the same thing twice. So technically, you shouldn't get another trophy. You only get one trophy for that, Drea. You said the same thing 2 times. Trizzy said Trump got caught lying over 3,000 times. How do you trust a liar?
Strawberry cheesecake.
First of all, every politician lies. They all lie. The only difference with Trump is that he has a legion of people trying to point out and draw attention to his lies as opposed to all the lies of everybody else. They just don't get attention. Every politician lies. I answered this question. I talked about this earlier when somebody asked me, have I ever thought about getting into politics? And I said, I don't like lying for a living. That's one reason why I wouldn't want to get into politics. All they do is lie. You heard me say that like 30 minutes ago. Did you not? Okay, so this has nothing to do with Trump. They all lied. Obama lied, Bush lied, Clinton lied, Biden lied, Kamala lied, Hillary lies, and all the rest of them. They all lie. They are all full-time liars. To be successful in politics in the United States of America right now, you must lie to win. You cannot win by telling the truth. I like telling people the truth. I don't like lying for a living. That's the reason why I'm not in politics. That's the reason why they are in it. You have to lie. So you say Trump got caught lying 3,000 times. How do you trust a liar? Well, first of all, I never said I trusted any politician. I made it clear. Do not trust the government. Do not depend on the government. Have I not said that? So you get
Strawberry cheesecake.
now. So nice try. Actually, it's not a nice try, but I'm trying to be nice. Big Sam said, if you believe your lies like clearly you do, then it's not lying. You would be a great politician.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Christopher Barker said, if you married, you got a boss. LOL. Christopher, speak for yourself.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Drea said, you wouldn't be an effective civil servant because of your inability to decensor your own desire. What does that even mean?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Drea, you're going to have to explain, what is my desire? You're speaking to my desire. You would have to have actually read my mind, or I told you what my desires were. I have not expressed any desires here today. So if you know what I'm thinking, please tell me. You have a skill that you should not be wasting leaving comments on TikTok. Carlos said, we need the CDC to develop a jab for a TDS. I don't think there is one. Trizzy said, you can't trust the federal government like you said. Why do you believe he is reducing crime?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Here's another loaded question. This is another common thing you'll see. I think we're going to need a sound for the loaded question because this actually happens a lot. The loaded question, I think I'm going to use that. So we're going to use this sound for now when somebody uses a loaded question logical fallacy. That's just the sound of a gun loading. Everybody heard that? Okay, so that's the loaded question logical fallacy is when someone asks a question that already has a presumption built into it. Trizzy says, why do you believe he is reducing crime? So his question is based on him claiming that he knows what I believe. I never said that. So that's a loaded question.
Emotional, damn it.
So Trizzy, again, that's kind of a nice try, but not really. Juan Garcia, thank you for the follow. Mary said, I can never get tired of listening to you. I learn something new every day. Well, thank you, Mary. ALDX said, maybe their credentials and past research experience. Hey, maybe they do have those things, ALD. The problem is they work at the CDC. That's the problem. It's like there are teachers who are really good teachers, but you work for the educational system. So if you're working in that system, who has more power, you or the system? The answer is the system, right? Okay, so I could be the best teacher in the world. As soon as I take a job working in a K through 12 school under the Department of Education, I have to follow what the system tells me to do. So there's a limitation on me using all of my skills because I am governed by the system. And if I go against the system too much, I lose my job. And if I want to keep my job, I got to follow what the system says. So that might mean muting my colors, so to speak, in order to keep my job. That's the problem when you work inside a bureaucracy. You got to follow the rules. This is the reason why I'm an entrepreneur. So ALD, do some people in the CDC have credentials and research experience? I'm sure they do. I'm sure that's probably how they got the job. The problem is as soon as you step into that bureaucracy, you got to follow the rules. That's the issue. I mean, listen to those doctors who went on Joe Rogan during the virus. They have credentials too. But as soon as they started using their knowledge to go rogue on what the system wanted them to do, you saw what they did to them. Did you not? Trizzy said, Trump passed Operation Warp Speed. Why wouldn't you trust the CDC? Why wouldn't you trust the CDC during his first term? Again, this is a loaded question. The CDC was what came to prominence at the end of his first term in 2020. And I gave Trump credit, quote unquote, credit for him saying, and Biden credit for saying the same thing. If you get the jab, you won't get the virus. Did I not say that? Everybody hear me say that? I know I said it. I said it more than once. Steve Alemo, you're welcome. Janet Johnson said, you're not paying attention, I guess. I'm not paying attention?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Justin said, Trump appointed RFK and Tulsi, crossing political lines to unite people for the betterment. That actually is a good point for Trump because they were both on the left. KO says, sorry, my bad. My comments were made during your earlier discussed topic. It's fine. It's cool. Everybody does it. KO Hardy. Steve Alemo said, I followed you a long time ago. Wonder why I wasn't already. I don't know. Hopefully they're not unfollowing. They have people unfollow me by accident. Double S said, they redistrict Texas so they can steal 5 House seats. Let's keep it real, sir. No, that's not true. That's not why they did it. And why would the Democrats just sit there and let them do that? Steal 5 House seats. That sounds good.
Emotional, damn it.
That's an appeal to emotion. That's not what happened. Trizzy said, I just don't understand why you said we can't trust the CDC. You don't understand that? Okay, let me make it very clear why we can't trust the CDC. Because the head of the CDC in 2020 came out and said, if you get the jab, you won't get the virus. Everybody heard that? Is that clear? That's why I don't trust the CDC. Just on that point alone. I don't care about anything else they say or do. And that's my decision. I do not trust the Center for Disease Control after what they did in 2020. And they were the ones who were pushing all the regulations, the masking, the stand 6 feet apart. You got to get the jab to go to this job, that job. All of that was being advised by the Center for Disease Control. There's a whole lot of things they did during that period of that virus that caused them to undermine their own credibility and their own trust. And anybody that doesn't understand that, just go do some reading about it. It was only 5 years ago. It ain't even that old. Then you said Trump paid for COVID research and vax. Why do you keep trying to connect it to Donald Trump? Again, you're trying to use this non sequitur of making it about Trump. It's not about Trump. Both Trump and Biden listened to and trusted and followed what the CDC said. So forget about the sides politically. It's just about the CDC.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Good. Wat Sarah said, is this your job because you can't get one? So unemployed. Well, you're technically right. I am unemployed, but not what you're trying to say.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
I'm unemployed now. I'll be unemployed for the rest of my life. I will never have a boss. I will never be employed. I'll never be W-2. So you're right, but for the wrong reason. All right. Veet said, CDC, FDA, all government agencies are corrupt. They hate Trump for trying to clean up the corruption. Okay, that's a fair argument. Justin said, the man is in a suit with books he wrote behind him. Well, that is true. I don't know if that's if you're complimenting me or you're being sarcastic. Rebecca said, my immune system is fine. Didn't take them all. Me too. Denise Bejarano, thank you for the follow. Van Ness Crawford, thank you for the rose. Brian Miller said, Sam is putting 50 points in today's game. Yes. Kuya Ben said, I like your response to the ignorant comments. I read a million ignorant comments on the internet in the last 20 years, so I'm used to this. I've been playing this game for a while. Big Sam said he, under some circumstance, has the ability to do so. The only way to combat it is the court. David Schrader said, VPs only get protection for 6 months after they leave office. Okay, so there's some context from David Schrader. If that's technically true, then Kamala losing her Secret Service makes perfect sense. If this is true. I don't know if it's true. Tracy said, based on what you're saying, we can't trust the government, president, news. What do we trust? Okay, directionally, you're actually right. Do I trust the government? No. Do I trust the president? Well, the president is in the government, so that's kind of connected. Do I trust the news? That's the media. No. So you only mentioned 2 things, the government and the media. Who trusts the government and the media, or the media? Any of you trust the government or the media? I don't. And Trizzy, you mentioned 2 things, the government and the media, and then you said, what do we trust? As if I took every single thing that exists in the world. You mentioned 2 things. This is a non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Trizzy, you got to come with some higher quality arguments in the future. I'm indulging you today, but you got to come with something better. Steve Alemo said they also set up the photo op by adding top secret folders and such. Okay, we're going to enter that into the record. I don't know if that's true, but I'm reading it. Double S said, if you don't lean to the right, how come you try to defend every lie from the right? This is a non sequitur and a personal attack.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Strawberry cheesecake.
What lie did I defend? Name the lie that I defended. Karen Remission Thriver, thank you for the share. Ali and Lahet, congrats on the gifter badges. Courtney, thank you for the heart. Shauna McD, good morning. Renee said, I am super socially neutral. If strong Dems made any sense, people like me may listen. I will listen to any politician and listen to what they have to say. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree, and doesn't mean I'm going to trust them. I don't trust any politician. I don't care what they say, but I'll listen, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Big Sam said, that is hilarious. One of your minions saying I'm on the spectrum, LOL. Yes, it sounded like it was a joke. So
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Big Sam, you could throw out all these straw men, then you could take a joke. Karina, and you're laughing about it, so I'm assuming you took it as a joke. Karina said, Wired published an article about DNC influencers who are making $8K a month. Oh, is that what it is? That sounds about right. Yeah, $8K a month sounds about the going rate for a DNC influencer. Now, DNC would have to pay me a lot more than that for some consulting, and it's not going to be a monthly thing. They got to pay me all the money up front, and it's a one-time fee, and I'm only working for a certain amount of time. But shout out to the DNC influencers. They got a lot of them. I follow some of them on X. Big Sam said, people stating my engagement as attention seeking is laughable. That is the point of lives and social. Actually, I agree with that. So Big Sam, I agree. I appreciate you coming in here with your logical fallacies. I accept and appreciate your logical fallacies. You add some flavor to the conversation. Then you said media engagement. What part of your minions not understanding? Now, see, then you turn right around. Then you use a logical fallacy by attacking the people who may be agreeing with me by calling them minions. So
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Strawberry cheesecake.
So Big Sam, you took one step forward and two steps back. Now that's what you just did. All right, and back-to-back comments. Trizzy said, we can't, where was I? We can't trust any of our leaders. So what's the move? Well, it depends on who you consider to be a leader. Who are your leaders? You say our, you're grouping me and you in together. I don't think we're of the same mind when it comes to this type of thing. So what leader are you talking about? 0050 Mimi said, thank you for telling the truth and keeping it real. You're welcome. Karen said, love your no fluff fact sharing. Thank you. You're welcome. Cowboys Doll, thank you for the heart. Justin, thank you for the follow. Lorraine Bennett, thanks for the follow. Cowboys Doll said yes. Kathleen, thank you for the round of applause. I'm going to read a few more comments before I get to them. Third Day, this is one of my books you can get for free. Just go to thirddaybook.com. This book is all about showing up, giving your best effort when you least feel like it. In other words, it's about being a damn professional. All of you got to go to work. Sometimes you don't feel like going to work. This book is about how do you show up at work on the days you don't feel like going to work. Thirddaybook.com, or just click the link in my profile. You can get that book, or the link in my comments. You can get that book. Richard over on YouTube said, Trump is doing nothing about gas prices like he did his first term. Why? Because he can't run again in 2028. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Trump supporter, but gas prices are killing me. Big oil monopoly. Well, here's the thing about politics, Richard. You're technically correct, but technically, it's not really Trump. The president can't really control gas prices. They all talk as if they can do everything. Every president campaigns as if they're going to solve all these problems. They don't really have their hand on the lever of everything that they say they're going to do. They can't do it because they have a system of checks and balances and they don't control every industry. And on top of that, they have to say it because it gets you to vote for them. But at the same time, they're not telling you the truth because they can't really actually do it just because they said they're going to do it. This is the lying that politicians have to do. This is the kind of lying that I couldn't go to sleep at night knowing that I have to mislead you to get you to support me while at the same time I know I'm misleading you. That's the reason why I can't be a politician. I wouldn't be a good politician. I could be a politician, but I wouldn't be a good one because I wouldn't be believing the lies that I'm telling you. And somebody believing what they're saying plays a big role in whether or not you accept it. And I would know I'm lying, so it's not going to work. So if I ever run for political office, all of y'all could just clip out what I just said and use this against me. That'll destroy my campaign before it even starts. Christy Power, thank you for the share. Justin, compliment to your accomplishments. Thank you. So what I would say to all of you is don't trust the government. You should pay attention to them because they do have a hand in our lives, but I would not trust them. I would definitely not depend on them. And what all of you need to do is make yourselves independently powerful and autonomous so that no matter what the government does, you can kind of float above the nonsense. What you don't want to be is down here subject to what the government does and every move that they make. That puts you in a position of subservience. That's where you don't want to be. So that's my suggestion to everybody when it comes to the government. So no, do not trust the government and damn sure do not depend on them. But we can talk about them, which we're doing right now. Big Sam said, can't trust anyone or anything. Generally, I agree with that point, Big Sam. So I'll give you a clap again. Traditional, thank you for the 41 roses. Kuya, thank you for the lightning bolt. Lonnie Love said, fact, I don't trust anyone. Yeah, we can, know what I call it? I say trust but verify. I don't want it to sound too cynical. What we call it is trust but verify. That's what we do in business. You trust. So if you have an assistant working for you and you tell your assistant to do something and they come back and they say they did it, then you can trust them that they said they did it, but you should also go check and make sure that they did what they said they did. That's called trust but verify. So you can trust certain people if you have a reason to trust them, but then you go verify that whatever they told you is actually true. All right, that's the checks and balances. So we can do this with everyday people. The problem with the government is that they don't have to tell you the whole truth, and you have no way of finding out what the whole truth is. That's the problem with the government. They can tell you that they found these documents or they did this or this is the situation, but how do you actually know? Because you would need access to certain information that they don't have to give you access to for you to find out the actual truth. You need more information than you have. So how do you know if the government's ever telling you the truth? The answer is you don't. You never know if the government's telling you the truth because they don't have to give you all the information. They are not transparent. That's the problem with the government. It's the same thing with corporate America. It's the same thing with scam organizations like the CDC. It's the same thing that happens in academia. They don't have to be transparent with you if they don't want to. They tell you what they want you to know, and they don't tell you what they don't want you to know. And if you challenge them, they will silence you, shut you up, fire you, kick you out, or block you. That's how it works. Did I get that right? Does anybody disagree with what I just said? Doesn't matter what side you're on politically. All right, this is why they're not to be trusted. I don't trust any institution to where I do not have independent access to all the information to verify anything that they tell me. That's a pretty concise way to put it. Angela M. Davis said, critical thinking at its best. Thank you. Carla said, former VP Protection Act of 2008 limited VP Secret Service protection to 6 months. So there you go. So Kamala actually got a couple extra months. If they just ended it now, it's August. She stopped being VP in January. So Donald Trump gave her 2 months for free. So Kamala Harris actually owes money. All right, she needed to pay that bill for this 2 months of Secret Service that she didn't deserve. If anything, Donald Trump should be invoicing Kamala Harris for his money. Trizzy said, we are in the same group. We are American citizens. Okay, I agree with you on that. All right, so Trizzy, after all your logical fallacies, you did say one thing that's good. So you do get that. Michelle said, that's your government problem. If you're talking about the same thing I'm talking about, yes, you're right. China H, good morning. Good to see you. She said, true. Karina said, gas is down in Texas. Gas is generally down in Miami. It's lower than it was. If I see it under $3, I'm happy. So if I drive past the gas station and I see the number starts with a 2, I'm happy. But technically, I don't even look at the price of gas. So if I need gas, I'm getting gas. I don't care how much it costs. I don't look at the price. And there's another thing that I say, especially when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, is that you all want to position yourselves to where you're not looking at the price of low cost things. Like I don't want to go to the grocery store and be counting how much money is in my cart. Like every time I put an item in the cart. I told this story before. When I was a kid, my mom would go to the grocery store and sometimes I'll go with her and she would bring an ink pen and a blank like letter size envelope with her. And every time she put something in the cart, she would take the price of that item and she would add it to her list. She would basically be doing math and addition. Every time she put something else in the cart, she would write down the price, $2.69, $13.29, and she would keep adding it up. And then she would add. She would put the line there, and then she would add up the price, and then she would factor in the tax because the tax was like 6%, at least back then. She would factor in the tax, so she knew exactly how much it was going to be when she got to the register. And the reason my mom was doing that is because she was on a budget. She had a limited amount of money that she could spend. Now, my dad would go to the grocery store too, but he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't count it up. So I guess he'd count it in his head or whatever he was doing. My mom would actually add it up on the envelope, the back of the envelope, exactly how much money she was spending. My point to you all is that you want to position yourself to where you don't have to go to the grocery store like that. Like, hey, I got to watch how much money I'm spending in the grocery store. I'm going to get what I want, and whatever it costs, and I'll just pay for it. Same thing when I buy gas. I don't want to have to look at the price of gas. I just need gas. Let me get gas. All right, let me put $30 in there and give me $30 worth of gas. I don't care how much gas it ends up being. We just get it. That's where you want to position yourself. Now, if gas prices come down, great. Now you get more gas for less money. If they go up, that's not great, but you still need gas. So what you going to do? Walk? So this is the situation. Michelle said, Michigan gas tax is horrible. Our governor is shit, so our gas hasn't dropped below $3.20 per gallon. No, that sucks. $3.20 is a lot. ThirdDayBook.com, folks. That's where you get this book. Dean Dangerous said, you seem to truth Trump who runs the government. Or I think you mean trust. Trust Trump? No, I don't trust any politician. Donald Trump right now is a politician, so technically I don't trust him. That doesn't mean I wouldn't shake his hand. If he said, Dre, come to the White House and have dinner, I would go. If Biden invited me, I would go. Well, Biden would be asleep. So if Kamala invited me, I would go. If Obama invited me, I would go. If Newsom wins and he invites me, I would go. I would go to have a conversation to find out what's actually happening because I can get more information sitting there with the president than talking about him on TikTok. So when you say I seem to trust him, what do you mean I trust him? Trust him in what? I'm not asking him to do anything for me, so I don't have to trust him. I'm just talking about him. That's all I'm doing is talking about him. Talking about somebody doesn't mean you trust them. Karina said, always verify. Christopher said, that's called micromanagement. No, it's not.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Michelle said, my dad is a Dem, and he's told me my whole life never trust the government. Yeah, your dad told you right. A smart move by your dad. Shauna McDee said, truth, thank you. Karina said, don't trust the government. Don't let them support you. Yes, don't be in a position where you need them to support you. 0050 said, depends on what state you're in. If you're in Maryland, high price, $3.20 versus $3.60. South Carolina, $2.60. Yeah, so South Carolina, that's a great price. Right now in South Florida, it's like $2.90, I think, the last time. I don't really look. And so don't hold me to any of these numbers. I just pull in and get the gas. I don't care how much it costs. Trizzy said, none of it was logical fallacies. I was asking for your POV. It wasn't argumentative at all. Well, Trizzy, that's a logical fallacy in and of itself.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay. Trizzy, you need to understand what a logical fallacy is. It's a poorly constructed argument. It doesn't mean that you're combative. You don't have to be argumentative to use a logical fallacy. You can use a logical fallacy just by poorly constructing your point or poorly constructing your question or your comment. Asking me for my POV with a presumption baked into your question is a logical fallacy in and of itself. Even if you're not trying to be argumentative or negative, it's still a logical fallacy because your question is poorly constructed. That's what it means to be a logical fallacy. So any of you who isn't familiar, when I point out these logical fallacies, it doesn't mean that you're doing something bad or negative or wrong. Well, you are doing something wrong. Your argument is poorly constructed. That's what it means. That's what a logical fallacy means. So none of you familiar with the concept. Let me go pull up the definition of the term so all of you understand. Logical fallacy definition. Because since I use it so much, I should explain what it is. Let me see if I can find a good definition. So let's go to a website called Grammarly. Y'all familiar with Grammarly? So, not quite logically sound statements that might seem solid at first glance, but crumble the moment you give them a second thought. Logical fallacies are everywhere. Once you know how to recognize them, you'll notice just how common they are and how they can undermine the point their writer is attempting to make. Being able to identify logical fallacies in others' words, as well as in your own, will make you a more critical thinker, which in turn will make you a stronger writer, speaker, and reader. This is straight from a website called Grammarly. They got a whole app that's all about helping people with their grammar and the way that they put arguments together. So they say, a logical fallacy is an argument that can be disproven through reasoning. This is different from a subjective argument or one that can be disproven with facts. Again, don't I keep telling y'all facts don't matter. For a position to be a logical fallacy, it must be logically flawed or deceptive in some way. All right, that's what a logical fallacy is. It's a deceptive question that is logically organized. It does not mean that you are wrong or bad or negative. It just means that you poorly organize your thought. And again, a lot of people don't understand what logical fallacy is. Justin said, term limits will bring back some faith the people lost in government. I agree with that, Justin. I'll give you a clap for that. That's something that we talk about here every now and then when it comes up. But term limits, yes. With term limits, there would be no Nancy Pelosi. There would be no Bernie Sanders. There would be no Lindsey Graham. There would be no Joe Biden. All right, these people wouldn't be around because they would have got retired a long time ago. Talker 23 said, if I have to ask the price, I can't afford it. Generally, you're right about that. But Talker, that's fine if you're in the Gucci store. It's not fine if you're at the grocery store buying food for your family. That's the whole point. So you got to ask the price when you need food for your family. Now, again, if you're buying some luxury item, then that's a whole different situation. Joe Byron says she sounds like a smart lady. Yes, my mom's very smart. She's in the educational system. So there you go. Educational system in America is trash. But that doesn't mean that the people who work there are trash. It just means the system is trash. And when you work in the system, you got to do what the trash tells you to do. Michelle said, I feel like all of our parents did that, and it did teach me to be more conscious on spending. Fair enough. Big Sam said, I always keep a running total. You can't trust the cashiers. All right, fair enough. I never thought about that, but maybe you're right. Maybe I'm getting scammed at the grocery store by not counting how much they're charging me. So maybe I'm getting scammed. So you might be right about that, Big Sam. Pamela said, Houston, Texas, 3-ish. I don't pay attention either. I remember during 2008, gas was like $4 something. That was crazy. I was paying attention a little bit, but I still needed gas. I mean, you still had to pay for it. But 2008 was when it was real crazy. Trizzy said, I'm using your words as presumption. No, you're not. No, Trizzy said, I'm using quotes. No, you're not using quotes. You're claiming to use quotes to defend yourself. No, you're not using quotes because every time you use a logical fallacy, I broke it down and said, I didn't say that. I said this, you're presuming that. So, no, that's not what you're doing. I just wanted you to explain your point after the surface. I just wanted you to explain your point after the surface. That's a fallacy in and of itself. So I understand what you're saying better, but you're not quoting me. So don't say you're quoting me if you're not quoting me. If you're quoting somebody, you must use the exact thing that they said, not your paraphrasing of what they said. As soon as you paraphrase what somebody else said and then say you're quoting them, you're lying. That's a logical fallacy in and of itself.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
So if I say it's cold outside today, and then you ask me a question, say, well, Dre, since you said it was freezing and I'm quoting you, that's not quoting me. All right, that is incorrect. You're not quoting me. So if you're going to quote, you must be exact and specific. All right, no exceptions. Trizzy said, you said we can't trust the government, and I went on to say why. No, that's not what you said, and I already broke that down. That's not what you said. You said, since we can't trust the government, and we can't trust the media, and we can't trust this, who do we trust? The reason it is a logical fallacy is because of the framing of it. The context of that was you're making it seem as if, in the context in which I read it, which is, oh, you're making it seem like we can't trust anything. You only mentioned two institutions, the government and the media. which is two institutions that many people have generally agreed that we don't trust for a long time. So the fallacy is the framing of we can't trust anything. That's the context in which I read it. Now, if you didn't mean it that way, I have no way of knowing because I can't hear your voice. That's why tonality matters a lot in conversation. If you write something down, then you're leaving it to the interpretation of the reader. That's the way things work. And you got the straw man to work like 15 times here, Trizzy. So you're picking and choosing something that makes it seem innocent, even though there were many logical fallacies you used here today, straw man, that I pointed out cleanly. And that's what we call the Mott and Bailey logical fallacy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So Trizzy, I gave you a clap. I gave you a hand clap for something good that you said. And then you went on and kept talking. And now you just went and took 10 steps backwards. I gave you a step forward with the hand clap. And then you kept talking. So see, Big Sam, I gave him a hand clap for a good point he made. And then he stopped using logical fallacies. He knew how to take the win. I gave you a win, Trizzy. And now you kept talking. Now you're going backwards again. So the Mott and Bailey fallacy is when someone does something that they get caught red-handed doing. And then when you call them out on their bullshit, they go and defend themselves by using a cleaned up version of what they were doing as if they weren't doing the thing that you caught them doing. So it's kind of like if you got some cookies on the table in the kitchen and you tell your 5-year-old kid, don't touch these cookies, leave these cookies alone. Then you walk in the kitchen and you see them with their hand in the cookies. They're literally trying to pick up a cookie. And you say, I told you don't touch the cookies. And they say, oh, I was just stretching my arm trying to clean up the counter. See, that's the Mott and Bailey fallacy. So they use a cleaned up version of what they were actually doing to make it seem like it was innocent. That's another logical fallacy. So Trizzy,
you're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I could do this all day. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. I told you I'd go overtime today because the comments were good. So we go overtime a little bit. Oso El Toxico, thank you for the follow. I've written 41 books, the number of books we have. Yes, we can acknowledge the sounds. The sounds are great. So everybody, thirddaybook.com. This book is free. Just cover the shipping. Books have been most popular. This is my most popular book overall right now is this book because a lot of business audiences love this book. A lot of professional audiences, they love this book, The Third Day, because they need their team to show up and do their job every day, which is not easy. But when it comes to mindset, this book has been very popular in the last, this month, this book has been very popular. So The Mirror of Motivation, I forget the subtitle of my own book, The Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. Get this book for free. Just cover the shipping at mirrorofmotivation.com. Mirrorofmotivation.com. This book is all about how you can be the best version of yourself so you can do what you need to do and have what you want to have. And you get it all through the mirror. This is not a book with me motivating you. The problem with me motivating you is that one day I'm not going to be there to motivate you, but you still got to show up. That's why we give you the mirror of motivation. That means you can always motivate you if you go through what we give you in this book. Mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is free. Just cover the shipping. Thirddaybook.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. How do you show up and give your best effort every day? If I was you, I would get both books. How do you get both books? Go to thirddaybook.com. After you get this book, it's a funnel. So on the next page, we're going to offer you a 4-book bundle that includes this one, and 3 other books, like this book right here called The Super You, my mental handbook, and 100 mental game best practices, because who reads just one book anyway? If you read one of my books, you're going to want to read another and another and another. It's like Lay's potato chips. You can't eat just one. Go to thirddaybook.com, get all the books, and we will send you a big package with a whole bunch of books. And that's just the entry point. We got a lot of other stuff going on in the work on your game world. All that being said, everybody, we went 2.5 hours here today. I'm hungry. I need to eat. And I appreciate everybody coming in. Even if you have logical fallacies, I appreciate that too. Everybody, I will see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Wait a minute, somebody just texted me. Yes, Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. So if you like this one, come back Monday. If you didn't like this one, come back Monday. If you did get a logical fallacy award, come back Monday. I will be giving them out again. If you did not get a logical fallacy award, but you want one, come back Monday. I'll be giving them out again. If you enjoyed me giving out the awards, you just like clapping for the award winners, come back Monday. I'll be giving out more logical fallacy awards. The topic is to be determined as usual. Everybody have a great weekend. By the time we get back, tomorrow's the 30th, 31st. So we'll be in September. Actually, Monday is Labor Day. How many of you are going to be here Labor Day at this time of morning? Put yes if you will be here, no if you won't be here. Are y'all going to be here Monday? I might do a live Monday, I might not. Because I know on Monday, I'm just looking at my calendar. I know I have a media appearance on Monday. I'm doing an interview on Monday. How many of you are going to be here Monday? I might. Have not decided if I'm doing it Monday or not. Should I go Monday? Yeah, some of you say you're sleeping in here. Some of y'all might sleep in on Monday. I get it. I think I'll probably go Monday. I think I'm going to go live on Monday. So I got to find out what time my gym opens. I should have asked them when I was there today. I gotta find out if my gym's gonna be open on Monday. But I will. All right. So some of you taking it off, some of you not. Okay. I will probably go live Monday. Right now, plan on me being here Monday. Plan on me being here Monday is 8 a.m. Eastern because I got an interview to do Monday, so I'm gonna be in a suit anyway. So I will see you all Monday morning. If you're not here Monday, I'll see you on Tuesday. Everybody have a great weekend. It will be Labor Day, so those of you who won't be here, enjoy your Labor Day. Those of you who will be here, but we'll talk about Labor Day on Labor Day. Everybody have a great weekend. My battery's about to die. I need to eat. Everybody have a great Friday. We are out of here. Work on your game.